This is how a Japanese-Italian teenager went from talking like this,
"I'm planning to beat your boss and take back this city for the people,"
to later on looking like this. Welcome to the most insane and visually stunning world of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind. Today's story takes place in the city of Naples, with a bit of Venice thrown in there as well. Our MC, Giorno Giovanna, teams up with Bruno Bucciarati and his squad of mafia misfits to take down the mysterious boss of a notorious gang. So get ready for talking bullets, frighteningly skimpy outfits, and a whole lot of dramatic, back-breaking poses, cause otherwise it wouldn't be JoJo enough. What are we waiting for then? Let's dive right in. The first episode is called Gold Experience, and it opens in the Italian city of Naples. The city kinda looks like Dante's paradise. Warm sunshine, sparkling sea, old cobblestone streets. But under that pretty picture, it's a messed up jungle. Pickpockets dart around like rats, drug addicts sprawl across the streets, and gangsters rule like kings. In the middle of it all, strolling like he owns the place, is a teenage boy in a pink suit with gold curls. His name? Giorno Giovanna, our newest and most elegant JoJo. But don't let that innocent face fool you. The first thing he does seems pretty heroic. He helps a tourist get her stolen purse back from a pickpocket. Looks like a good guy, right? But then he pulls a sneaky move. While returning the purse, he secretly turns some of her money into butterflies that fly straight into his hand. So yeah, he stops a thief, but then steals from her using a super weird ability. But then, the next minute, we see a different side of him as he buys ice cream for a hungry kid with that money. So what is this guy really? A thief with a heart of gold? A saint with sticky fingers? It's hard to say. Meanwhile, at the airport, a nasty thug named Leaky Eye Luca is painting the sidewalk red after beating a guy who didn't pay his gang tax. He hears that some kid named Giorno is also refusing to pay up. Just then, Koichi Hirose, our short and courageous ally from Part 4, lands in Naples. He's here to find a guy named Haruno Shiobana.
Okay, let's get down to business.
Thing is, Jotaro Kujo, our MC from Part 3, asked Koichi to check the guy out because something smells very fishy about him. As luck would have it, Koichi immediately meets Giorno, who is Haruno, though Koichi is unaware, and Giorno offers him a taxi ride. Sounds pretty nice, but the moment Koichi puts his luggage in the car, Giorno hits the gas and tries to ditch him. Unfortunately for Giorno, he uses Echo's Act 3, his stand ability, which makes the car stop like it hit a brick wall. Giorno just smiles and runs away empty-handed, so Koichi is left stranded and confused about the whereabouts of his luggage. All he sees is a frog in the backseat of the car. Unbeknownst to him, that frog is his luggage, he just doesn't know it yet. Back to Giorno. He's chilling near the airport when Luca shows up, demanding tribute. Giorno says he already paid off the airport guards, but Luca doesn't care. He spots the frog from earlier on Giorno and smashes it with his shovel. Really bad move, because Giorno's stand, Gold Experience, reflects the damage back at Luca. One moment later, Luca's lying on the ground, his skull smashed in like pizza dough, perfectly shaped like his own shovel. Ouch! Giorno converts the frog back into luggage and then bounces. After that, we hit a brief flashback scene between Jotaro and Koichi. Jotaro explains that Haruno is probably the son of Dio. Yeah, the vampiric bitchman himself. Back in the present, Koichi finds Giorno sipping espresso at a cafe and demands his passport and luggage back. Giorno tries to escape again. Koichi uses echoes to weigh him down, but Giorno pulls out Gold Experience and then throws a full-blown tree to launch himself onto a rooftop and escapes again. Before leaving, he casually compliments Koichi's kind demeanor. Weird flex, but okay. Having repeatedly encountered this Giorno guy with a strange ability, there's now no doubt in Koichi's mind that Haruno and Giorno are the same person. Later, Giorno boards a cable car not knowing he's being hunted. A well-dressed gentleman named Bruno Bucciarati sits down beside him. He starts a conversation with Giorno and reveals he can taste lies in people's sweat. That's kinda gross, but okay. Anyway, when questioned about who beat up Leaky Eye Luca, Giorno lies and says he knows nothing about the guy, and Bruno pretends to buy it. But when Giorno finds a human eyeball in his hand, he starts sweating from the shock. Bruno licks Giorno's face, and having confirmed that the kid lied earlier, starts pummeling him. Turns out Bruno has a stand too, one that puts zippers on people's bodies. It's violent, it's weird, and now Giorno's had had enough. The episode ends as he finally summons Gold Experience. The next episode, titled Bucciarati is Coming, opens with a peek into Giorno Giovanna's rough childhood. Being Dio's son already sets the tone for tragedy, and his mom, a beautiful but neglectful woman who partied away while little Giorno was left to fend for himself. Things got worse when she remarried an Italian man who treated Giorno like a punching bag. Toss in the fact that after he moved to Italy, the local kids hated him for being half Japanese. So yeah, Giorno was stuck in a living nightmare. But then came a turning point. One day he found a bleeding man hiding in an alley. When gangsters came looking for him, Giorno lied to protect him. That exact moment awakened his stand Gold Experience, which caused a patch of grass to grow and camouflage the man. The man survived, and in return, he secretly protected Giorno from constant domestic violence and bullying.
You saved my life back there. I won't forget that.
That man, who was a gangster by the way, was the first person to treat Giorno like a human being. Another day, Giorno saw that same man shoot a drug dealer dead. Not a great look, but it wasn't meaningless. The dealer was selling drugs to kids. Giorno realized sometimes to protect people, you've got to get your hands dirty. That's when his dream was born. Not to be a gangster, but a gang star. Someone who could clean the rot from within. Okay, that's a banger dream to have. For real. Back to the present. Bruno Bucciarati confronts Giorno and decks him pretty hard. Giorno fights back with Gold Experience and things start getting bizarre. Bruno suddenly feels like he's moving in super speed, but actually his body's frozen. It's just his mind that's racing. This is Gold Experience's power. Upon physical contact, it floods people with life energy, accelerating their senses so much that their body can't keep up. While Bruno's stuck in slow motion limbo, Giorno lands another painful hit, knocking out a tooth. Okay, Bruno realizes this kid isn't some random punk. He's definitely the one who attacked Leaky Eye Luca. Bruno then summons his own stand, Sticky Fingers, which can unzip anything. They clash in a flurry of punches and zippers, but Bruno escapes by zipping a hole in the cable car wall and disappearing into the busy streets of Naples. Giorno chases him into a shady alley, but then can't find him. Not to worry though. Giorno had secretly turned Bruno's knocked out tooth into a GPS fly. Yeah, seriously. Using this buzzing tracker, he finds Bruno hiding inside a random civilian's body, zipped up like a suitcase. Gosh darn it. First thing Bruno does after stepping out of the civilian's body is to try and trick Giorno by making it look like he's holding out his arm to fight.
Is something wrong?
Vieni, Giorno Giovanna!
Giorno seemingly falls for it and strikes the arm, only to realize he just hit the civilian's arm zipped to Bruno as a decoy. Bruno lands a counterattack and slices Giorno badly. But as Bruno goes in for the finish, Giorno yanks off his own arm, throws it at Bruno, and hits him with Gold Experience again, rebooting the whole sensory overload thingy. Bruno's now frozen and about to himself. Giorno walks up, ready to deliver a nasty knuckle sandwich, but suddenly stops. Why? Because he saw something in Bruno's reaction earlier. When he realized the arm he used as a decoy belonged to a teenage drug victim, his face showed genuine pain. That told Giorno everything. This guy hates the drug problem as much as he does. So instead of punching him out, Giorno lays it all out. He tells Bruno he's not just trying to survive. He's planning to rise through the mafia, take down the corrupt mafia boss, and rebuild the organization into something better. Not clean exactly, but better. And it all starts with winning Bruno over. Just like that, this future gang star has found his first potential ally in his war on drugs. Our Joe Bro for part 5 has been found. Episode 3 is called Meet the Gangster Behind the Wall. Now, as the saying goes, when someone tells you who they are, you should believe them. So accordingly, Bruno takes Giorno at his word. But that's really the easy part. Bruno still has to make a choice about becoming an ally. He eventually decides to bet on Giorno's golden dream and help him infiltrate the mafia from the inside. But first things first, Bruno will lie to the gang and say he didn't find the culprit behind Leaky Eye Luca's assault. Secondly, if Giorno slips up and gets caught, he's on his own. No backup, no Bruno. For Giorno, it's no problemo. As they stroll through Naples' crowded streets and shady back alleys, Bruno gives Giorno the rundown on the organization they're about to tango with, Passione. These guys don't just dabble in crime. them. They own everything in the city. Drugs, racketeering, you name it. And the boss? A total enigma. No one knows what he looks like. Orders come down through layers of lieutenants or capos as they're called. In order to join Passione, Giorno's first test is to meet with one of these capos for an interview. The capo he's supposed to meet is called Polpo, but here's the twist. Polpo's in prison, so Giorno has to go pay him a visit like he's applying for an internship at Hell Incorporated. He goes through heavy security, where he's warned against giving or receiving anything from the inmate.
Keep in mind, exchanging objects either from him or yourself is strictly forbidden, so don't try anything.
Then, finally, Giorno's escorted to a dark, silent corridor. The lights click on, revealing what looks like an empty cell with a big bed in the middle. And then, the bed stands up, because it's not a bed, it's Polpo. This man is huge. He's lounging in a cell that's secretly packed with luxury items. Wine, food, soft lighting, basically an Airbnb for crime lords. Then comes the real interview. What can you do? Polpo asks. Giorno keeps his standability on the down low and instead shows off some weird tricks. Polpo nods along, but he's not interested in parlor tricks. He's looking for someone who's trustworthy, as that alone is more important than any talent in a gang. So, he hands Giorno a lit lighter and drops the challenge. Giorno must keep the fire burning for 24 hours to test whether he can be trusted even when nobody's looking. As you can already tell, things are going to get real dicey. Giorno has to leave the prison with the lighter still burning. He thought the guards would look the other way because, mafia influence. But no, these guards are serious. When asked what he's holding, Giorno panics. He then uses gold experience to turn the lighter into a flower, hiding the flame inside the petals. With that magic trick, he breezes through the checkpoint, back at his place. Yes, a high school dorm, because Giorno is still 15 years old somehow. He carefully props the lighter up to keep it safe from the wind. Everything's peaceful until the door creaks open. It's Koichi, who's still hunting down his stolen passport and luggage. Giorno doesn't have time to explain, so he climbs outside and hides on the ledge like he's freaking Spider-Man. He watches in silent horror as Koichi gets closer and closer to the lighter. Well, Koichi eventually spots the lighter, but simultaneously he finds his passport. So, Giorno uses the momentary distraction to grab the lighter back without getting noticed. Outside, a janitor nearby sloshes a bucket of water onto Giorno's path and the lighter goes out. Well, that freaking sucks. Giorno's heart shatters, but the kind janitor, just doing his job, sees Giorno looking devastated and says, "Oh, need a light?" And he relights the lighter like it's no big deal and hands it back with a smile. Giorno looks bamboozled. That was too easy. Is this test even real? Is somebody watching? And that's when he sees it. A stand silently glides across the floor and vanishes behind a column. Merely seconds later, the stand pops out of the column like a jump scare, pulls out the soul of the janitor, and starts talking some gibberish about relighting the flame and being the chosen one.
You're the one who reignited the flame! Do you live on and become one of the chosen, or do you proceed along the path of death?
Before Giorno can even yell run, the stand whips out the stand arrow from its mouth and impales the janitor's soul right in the head. The janitor dies instantly, and the episode ends with the stand turning to Giorno as it prepares to attack him. Okay, that escalated quickly. The next episode is called Joining the Gang, and we continue from where we left off. This terrifying new stand is called Black Sabbath, and it can only attack from the shadows of living and non-living things. This stand just totally murdered the poor janitor right in front of Giorno simply because the janitor wasn't the chosen one, or in other words, he didn't have the potential to be a stand user. As Black Sabbath tries to attack Giorno, Giorno simply dodges by leaping up the staircase handrails, but Black Sabbath is annoyingly sneaky. It grabs Giorno's shadow itself and starts dragging his stand gold experience right out of it. It's about to impale Giorno with the same deadly arrow it used on the janitor. Yikes! Cornered and desperate, gold experience starts punching Black Sabbath so hard, the stand basically disappears into the darkness. For like 5 seconds. Told you, this guy's annoyingly sneaky. That's when Giorno has a light bulb moment. Black Sabbath's power is linked to shadows, and its weakness is sunlight. But the clock is ticking. The sun is setting fast, meaning soon there will be nowhere safe for Giorno to run. Just then, Koichi bursts out of the dorm, completely oblivious to the danger he's walking into. Black Sabbath immediately goes for him with the arrow, ready to take another soul. Giorno acts swiftly. He transforms the handrails into flowers that disperse to reveal sunlight, forcing Black Sabbath to retreat. During this little break, Koichi explains what the arrow does. Those who awaken their stand after getting struck will live, but those who don't awaken their stand will die. Koichi also suggests that Black Sabbath is a long-range automatic stand, like a robot following preset commands. And so, the stand user, it's Polpo by the way, may not even be aware of this fight that they're having. But just when they think they're safe, Black Sabbath pulls another sneaky move. It uses bird shadows to travel far enough to grab Giorno from the shadow of a nearby tree. Meanwhile, Gold Experience pumps extra life into the tree's roots, causing the tree to wither and the shadow to vanish. Exposed to sunlight and weakened, Black Sabbath gets pummeled into submission and finally disappears for good. With the battle over, Koichi rushes to call Jotaro Kujo for backup, cause he knows how dangerous that arrow truly is. But Giorno stops him from calling anyone. He knows Polpo probably hasn't even caught wind of the lighter going out, and he wants to keep it that way. Giorno spills his dream to Koichi to infiltrate the gang and change the mafia from within. He convinces Koichi to keep the whole stand drama a secret before they both part ways. The next day, Giorno heads back to Polpo's prison cell, with the lighters still lit of course, before officially letting him into the gang. Polpo gives Giorno a heartfelt lecture about the mafia's honor code and loyalty and yada yada yada. Deep stuff. While Polpo's busy talking, Giorno casually turns one of the guns in the cell into a banana and hides it in the fridge. Once Giorno gets out, he meets back up with Bruno and confirms he's officially part of the Passione gang. As they stroll into the streets, Polpo, alone in his cell, decides to eat the banana. Then, the banana turns back into the gun in his hand. As you can already tell, what happens next is mind-blowing.
I took the liberty of changing one of your guns into your favorite snack.
In a gruesome display of Giorno's revenge for the janitor, Polpo accidentally shoots himself. Instant bloody karma. And the good news is, the stand arrow is destroyed as well. Score 1 for our MC. Bro is the perfect blend of Dio's sneakiness and Jonathan's ideals. The next episode is called Find Polpo's Fortune. After that intense mafia initiation ritual, Bruno decides it's time for a little mobster orientation. He gives Giorno the lowdown on how Passione actually works. It's like a pyramid scheme where the gang is split into independent teams, each led by their own mini-boss. Several of these teams answer to the capos, the upper management basically, and looming above all of them is the boss, a shadowy figure who must not be seen or named. Bruno lays it out for Giorno. If they want to climb the ladder in Passione, they need one thing more than anything else: a solid, trustworthy team. We then cut to the underworld grapevine, which is positively buzzing because Polpo has apparently committed suicide. Two members of Passione, Sale and Mario Zucchero, are whispering about some huge stash of treasure supposedly tucked away somewhere by Polpo. And guess who's most likely to know where the treasure is? That's right, Bruno Bucciarati, Polpo's sole confidant. Back with our main crew, Bruno and Giorno arrive at a cozy little restaurant where the rest of Bruno's team is already lounging around waiting. Right away, we meet the very superstitious Guido Mista, who is absolutely losing his mind because the server had the audacity to bring them 4 slices of cake. Number 4 is bad luck, you know. We also meet the intelligent and short-tempered Panacotta Fugo as he's trying to help Narancia Girga with some basic math. Let's just say Narancia's kind of dumb and childish, so not exactly a numbers guy. When he gets the answers wrong, Fugo's reaction is overly dramatic. Damn. While this teacher on student violence is unfolding, Leone Abbacchio, the most serious one of Bruno's underlings, is eating his slice of cake despite Mista's superstition. At the same time, Narancia, fork still in cheek, pulls a knife on Fugo to defend himself. Basically, this team is incredibly unhinged. Everyone only starts to act normal once Bruno walks in. Giorno tries to introduce himself politely, but the team gives him the cold shoulder. Moments later, Bruno gets a call about Polpo's death and has to step away. Seizing the opportunity to haze the new guy, Abbacchio literally urinates in a teapot and serves it to Giorno. The whole squad watches, waiting for Giorno to freak out, but Giorno gulps it down without flinching. Giorno secretly used his stand to turn one of his teeth into a jellyfish, which absorbed the liquid before it hit his system. Yeah, the team is flabbergasted. Giorno just earned himself a bit of respect. Yeesh. Next stop, the docks. Bruno rents a yacht while Narancia gathers snacks, and the squad sets sail to nowhere in particular. Once they're far enough out at sea, Bruno drops the big news. Yes, Polpo is dead. Yes, there's a treasure hidden in Naples that's worth 10 billion lira. And yes, Bruno plans to take it, use it, and rise through the ranks to become a capo. The crew is hyped, but suddenly, Narancia is yanked out of sight despite being in a wide open area. Before anyone can react, Mista and Fugo vanish as well. One by one, the team's disappearing and there's no sign of what's causing it. Now it's just Bruno, Abbacchio, and Giorno left, and things are getting tense. They do know the others are alive because Giorno managed to turn Narancia's shoe into a GPS fly. Bruno tells Abbacchio that his stand is perfect for figuring out what's happening, but Abbacchio is stubborn. He doesn't trust Giorno, and he sure doesn't want to show off his stand's powers in front of someone he sees as a potential threat. So, Giorno does something totally reckless. He charges right into danger. Predictably, he gets stabbed and dragged out of sight like the others.
No! Giorno!
But that self-sacrifice works. Abbacchio is finally moved by Giorno's resolve. Deciding he might be worth trusting after all, Abbacchio summons his stand, Moody Blues. And with that, the hunt for the enemy begins. The next episode is titled Moody Blues' Counterattack. This episode dives into the tragic past of Leone Abbacchio, the broodiest man with the purplest lips in Passione. Once, Abbacchio was a police officer who actually believed in justice, but working in a city soaked in corruption wore him down. No matter how hard he tried, the bad guys kept winning, thanks to bribes and backdoor deals. Eventually, disillusionment cracked his sense of right and wrong. One night, a pimp offered him a bribe to let him go, and he took it, convincing himself that there was no point in having the moral high ground in this city anyway. Well, that same pimp later committed murder, and when Abbacchio tried to arrest him, the pimp pulled a gun. Abbacchio froze as his partner, his 24/7 buddy, jumped in and took the bullet to protect him. That moment cost Abbacchio everything: his career, his purpose, and his will to live. That's when Abbacchio met Bruno, who gave him a second chance, not in law, but in loyalty, and Abbacchio took it. Back to the present. Giorno just got stabbed and dragged off by an invisible enemy. Bruno wants to rush in, but Abbacchio stops him because Giorno's fly tracker is still buzzing, which means Giorno's not dead yet. Bruno uses sticky fingers to search the ship, but there's no sign of the attacker. Abbacchio summons a stand, Moody Blues, a living VHS player that can replay people's past movements. He rewinds into Narancia's last moments as he watches Narancia get stabbed, deflate like a balloon, and get dragged down a drain.
His wound is releasing air, deflating his body.
Despite the clues, they still can't find the enemy. Abbacchio decides to test a theory. He resets Moody Blues, punches the wall, and starts bleeding, but there's no blood visible inside the ship. Then, even he gets stabbed and disappears just like Narancia. So, Bruno now finds himself alone on a boat full of his missing teammates and mystery. Then, suddenly, the enemy speaks. That's Mario Zucchero, cocky and visible and holding the crew hostage. He demands to know where Polpo's treasure is. Bruno isn't rattled because he's already figured out the trick. There isn't one boat, there are two. Zucchero inflated a fake yacht over a real one to trap them. So, Bruno unzips the visible boat's hull, causing it to sink. Zucchero, now exposed, scrambles in panic. He grabs Abbacchio at knife point, hoping for a trade, but Bruno has other plans. He unzips his own arm and launches a long-range punch, knocking Zucchero out cold. Abbacchio is now safe, albeit a little deflated. The following episode is called 6 Bullets Appear. So, after the wild boat battle against Mario Zucchero and his creepy stand shenanigans, Team Bruno is back to their normal, chaotic selves. And by that, I mean Narancia, Fugo, and Abbacchio taking turns kicking the ever-living out of Zucchero's poor unconscious body. Meanwhile, Mista takes it a step further. He's all in on torture and getting valuable info from the assailant. So, he zips Zucchero's disembodied head and hangs it on a fishing line, and then sets up a horrifying science experiment involving glasses and sunlight, threatening to laser beam the guy's eyeballs if he doesn't talk. Then, because why wouldn't they, Mista, Fugo, and Narancia break out into a full-blown synchronized dance number right there on the deck. It's flamboyant flamboyant, and honestly, it's art. But while the boys are out there moonwalking and torturing in equal measure, Abbacchio stays on task. He busts out Moody Blues and rewinds time, this time transforming into Zucchero himself to watch what happened a few minutes before the ambush. Sure enough, he catches Zucchero using his radio to tip off his partner, revealing that Polpo's treasure is stashed away on the island of Capri. Bruno, cool-headed as always, figures Zucchero won't spill a word now that he's captured. He's a hardened mafioso after all, but that doesn't mean his partner isn't already on the move. By now, there's probably a new enemy waiting for them on the island, and someone's going to have to take some initiative before this turns into another ambush. Right on cue, Giorno proposes heading to Capri ahead of the group to catch their unknown attacker off guard. Bruno gives the nod, and Mista, never one to miss a good gunfight, volunteers to tag along. He reveals his own stand, 6 bullets, a team of tiny gun-loving gremlins that ride his bullets and kick them around like they're playing stand-powered pinball. Mista hops on a makeshift fish, thanks to Giorno's life-creating stand, and they head off, armed with Zucchero's radio. Once they reach Capri, Giorno heads back, scoping out the marina from a distance while Mista grabs some food for his stand. Those little guys can't fight on an empty stomach apparently. The plan is simple: use Zucchero's radio to bait the enemy into responding, and then take him out while he's off guard. But the enemy is already playing 4D chess. He's snuck into the marina's radio room, answers the call from Zucchero's radio, and spots Mista through the window. Giorno catches this and tries to warn Mista through the very same radio. Upon hearing the warning, Mista whips out his revolver and fires twice through the closed shutters, sending 6 bullets like tiny, cackling cowboys.
Here we go!
Using their signature move, they kick the bullets mid-air to curve around and nail Zucchero's partner Sale in the leg. But Sale's not down yet. Wounded but mobile, he limps into a truck, leaving just enough blood trail for Mista to follow. Dude is really crashing out. The next episode is titled 6 Bullets Appear Part 2. Before Mista became the trigger-happy cowboy we see today, he was just a chill teenager living the dream, eating good food, admiring pretty girls, and enjoying life without worrying about bills. But one night, his simple life went sideways. He saw a guy beating up a woman and jumped in to stop it. The thug and his buddies tried to shoot him, but somehow every bullet missed. Maybe divine luck, maybe terrible aim. But even while under fire, Mista grabbed a gun, loaded it like a pro, and took them all down with 4 perfect shots to the head. Yeah, you can already tell this guy's a badass gunslinger. Now, fast forward to the present, and Mista's on the moving truck, hunting the stand user hiding in there. Mista quickly fires at the roof, and bingo! Sale takes a bullet to the forehead and stands right back up like nothing happened. Sale starts gloating and reveals his stand Kraft work, which can freeze objects in place. Mista tries to blast him again, but every bullet gets stuck mid-air or bounces off. And for some reason, Mista's stuck to the truck handle. His gun is now empty, and things are starting to go downhill fast. But Mista's not out of the fight just yet. While Sale's monologuing, Mista reveals he's hidden extra bullets in his hat, because of course he did. His stand, 6 bullets, kicks them into his gun and he fires again. The first bullet is blocked, but the second one slips through and nails Sale in the throat, knocking him off the truck. Now Mista's free to move around, but the danger's not over. It's not over because Mista is stressing about only having 4 bullets left. That number totally freaks him out, as you can imagine.
What happened?
Really, Mista? It's because you dropped one. Yeah, you dropped the other bullet. You, of all people, should know the number 4 is bad news.
But then Sale shows up again, using locked pebbles to crawl through the air. Upon catching up with Mista, he fires a supercharged bullet that smacks him right in the stomach. The pain causes Mista to misfire 3 times. Thankfully, because of this, he no longer has to deal with the number 4. Sale then fires another supercharged bullet, but 6 bullets hijacks it mid-air, flips it back around, and cracks it in half. One half flies straight into the bullet that's still lodged in Sale's forehead. The impact sends the old bullet deeper into his brain. Having suffered some pretty severe brain injuries, Sale finally goes down for good. The next episode is called The First Mission from the Boss. After Mista takes down Sale like a gunslinging pro, Team Bruno gathers in a restroom on the island of Capri. Mista's pretty banged up, so Fugo patches him up by literally stapling his wound shut. Ugh. Just as Bruno is about to reveal where he hid hid Polpo's treasure, 2 janitors start cleaning up right outside the restroom. Narancia tries to shoot them away, but the younger one acts quite tough and sassy, sparking a mini scuffle. It stops when the older janitor reveals himself to be Pericolo, a high-ranking capo in Passione. Oopsie. He's also here for the treasure and something else. Turns out, Bruno had secretly stashed Polpo's treasure behind the restroom walls using his stand's zippers. Pericolo checks it out and confirms it's worth billions. As a reward, he promotes Bruno to the rank of capo, replacing the late Polpo. But before the team can celebrate, Pericolo drops a bombshell. They've got a new mission straight from the boss himself. Bruno is now tasked with guarding the boss's daughter, Trish Una. Yeah, the same sassy janitor from earlier. Her mom, Donatella, was once the boss's lover back when he used a fake alias. After Donatella felt ill, she started investigating her ex, which caught the attention of both the mafia and a rogue group of stand users who want to overthrow the boss. With Trish in danger, Bruno's squad has to be her bodyguards 24/7. This was also Polpo's last mission before his deal.
You'll be relieved of duty once the boss eliminates the traitors.
Later, Giorno privately reflects, if protecting Trish gets him closer to the boss, he'll do it, even if the price is death. Elsewhere, one of the rogue assassins, Formaggio, is surfing the net, trying to track down the new guardians of the boss's daughter now that Polpo is out of the picture. He figures someone else in Passione must have picked up the job, and he's planning to find out who. After a little time skip, Team Bruno is now hiding out in the countryside. Bruno sends Narancia into town alone to buy groceries. Fugo worries he'll mess it up, but Abbacchio assures him that Narancia's stand Aerosmith, a tiny but deadly fighter plane, can sniff out any threats. After shopping, Narancia loads the groceries into his car, only to find a random guy just chilling in the passenger seat. It's Formaggio. He plays nice at first, but when Narancia doesn't fall for it, Formaggio attacks with his stand Tiny Feet and claws Narancia's face. This stand has the ability to shrink things into tiny little sizes. Enraged, Narancia unleashes Aerosmith, blasting bullets all over the car. In his rage mode, Narancia's knife and shoe are knocked to the ground. Formaggio quickly realizes this plane packs some serious heat, but it's not great in close quarters. Just before Narancia drops a mini bomb, Formaggio shrinks himself and disappears in the blast. Tiny Formaggio then jumps inside Narancia's pocket, sees the feminine products he bought, and suspects that Bruno's team is guarding the boss's daughter. Meanwhile, Narancia himself is slowly shrinking. He just doesn't know it yet. The next episode is called Hitman Team. Narancia starts to realize something's way off. His missing shoe and knife look so huge, and everything around him is getting bigger. He runs to a public hall to use a payphone, but his light weight stops the automatic doors from opening. No problem. He sends Aerosmith to blast them open like a tiny fighter jet wrecking ball. He even uses the stand to crack open the payphones and shake out the coins. But before he can make a call, Formaggio slices the phone wire with little feet to stop him. Narancia, in a light bulb moment, figures out that Formaggio is still nearby. He drags him right out of his pocket and holds him up for Aerosmith to blast. But Formaggio escapes by growing a pen in his pocket, using the force to launch himself out like a bullet. Slick move, you bastard. Aerosmith keeps tracking him though, by sensing carbon dioxide. Yeah, it literally hunts anything that breathes. Formaggio dives into a sewer to hide underwater, but even there, he's still getting chased and shot at. That's when we get a brief flashback. So back in the day, Formaggio and his crew, La Squadra Esecuzioni, aka the Hitman Team, were pulling off stand-powered assassinations, but despite their deadly skills and being members of Passione, they were broke. All 9 of them. Other teams made bank through drugs and gambling, but the Hitman Team only got paid per hit. 2 of their members, Sorbet and Gelato, tried digging into the boss's identity for whatever reason, and that went very badly. Gelato was found dead, having suffocated himself, and then, piece by piece, Sorbet's body was mailed to the team in jars. A simple yet terrifying message from the boss: don't snoop around. The team buried their friends and gave up until they found out the boss had a daughter. So now they think they can get to the boss through her. Back to the action, Formaggio notices that Aerosmith tracks people by the CO2 that they breathe. So he hides inside a rat swarm. But Narancia is not fooled. One of the rats is breathing harder than the rest. So he fires, hitting Formaggio several times. But it's too late. Formaggio has quickly grown back to full size, while Narancia and his stand shrink even further. I mean, how low can you go at this point? The next episode is called Narancia's Aerosmith. Now at full size, Formaggio catches up with Narancia and starts stomping on him, trying to squeeze out Team Bruno's location. As things get tense, we flash back to Narancia's rough childhood. Born in 1984, he was a happy kid until his mom died from an eye infection. His dad didn't even care that much, and soon, Narancia stopped going to school. He instead started hanging out with some sketchy friends. One of them told him to dye his hair blonde, which got him mistaken for a criminal and thrown in jail. He was beaten by the cops, got his own eye infected, and when he got out, his so-called friends abandoned him. Homeless, sick, and alone, Narancia gave up on life until he met Fugo and Bruno. They took him in, treated him with kindness, and gave him a reason to live again. After that, Narancia insisted on joining their gang and passed Polpo's test to become a full member of Passione. Back in the present, Narancia refuses to sell out his friends, even as Formaggio threatens to imprison him with a massive spider in a bottle. Narancia puts up a brave fight against the creepy crawly, using a glass shard like a tiny sword, but the spider catches him in its web.
There's the bite.
Even then, Narancia keeps his mouth shut, but Formaggio finds a map that had fallen from Narancia's pocket, and now he knows where Team Bruno is hiding. Just when it looks like Narancia has failed, he reveals his secret move. Earlier in their fight, while pretending to shoot at Formaggio, he was actually firing tracer bullets at his own car's gas tank. The car now suddenly explodes, sending fire everywhere. The shockwave is enough to blast Formaggio away and return Narancia to normal size. Burnt, but still alive, Formaggio charges for one last attack. That's when Aerosmith shoots him down with deadly force. Formaggio dies with a bitter smirk, knowing the battle was loud enough to alert the rest of the Hitman team. Narancia may have won, but their secret is out. Back at the countryside, Team Bruno realizes their cover is probably blown. Fugo scolds Narancia for messing up the mission, but Giorno steps in and praises Narancia for doing the best he could. And just like that, their next step arrives, a message from the boss himself. Mista announces that they've been instructed to retrieve a key hidden in the ruins of Pompei. Learning from past mistakes, Bruno sends not one, but 3 members this time, Fugo, Giorno, and Abbacchio. This is what I love about Part 5. Everyone gets their moment to shine. The next episode is titled The Second Mission from the Boss. Giorno, Fugo, and Abbacchio are headed to the ruins of Pompei to find a mysterious key near a famous dog mosaic. As they reach the ruins, Fugo notices a weird reflection in a nearby mirror. It's an enemy, Eluso, from the Hitman team. Fugo tries to warn the others, but things get weird really fast. Giorno and Abbacchio can't see the guy, even though he's right there.
Every move with this mirror! What the hell?
Then, when Fugo turns to double check, Eluso suddenly attacks, and Fugo shoves his teammates out of the way, only to realize they've vanished, and he's now alone in a creepy alternate reality, a mirror world. Eluso's stand, Mirror Man, lets him drag people in through reflections and isolate them from their own stands. Fugo learns this the hard way when he tries to summon Purple Smoke, his stand power which can dissolve living things within its range. Meanwhile, Giorno and Abbacchio are very much confused in the real world. Purple Smoke has appeared, but is acting all twitchy without Fugo's control. Inside the mirror, Fugo is getting wrecked by Eluso, and through another flashback, we see Fugo's tragic resume. Child prodigy, university student at 13, until he snapped and bashed a creepy predatory professor with an encyclopedia. That earned him expulsion, legal trouble, and being disowned by his family. He lived on the streets until Bruno found him and gave him a second chance. Back to the present, Abbacchio explains Purple Smoke's deadly power. Those funky bulbs on its fist crack open and release a flesh-melting virus. Super effective, but also dangerous to literally everyone, including its own team. As if to prove the point, Purple Smoke punches a wall and immediately starts melting a nearby bird into goo. Abbacchio wisely decides to back away very quickly. Meanwhile, Eluso is merely seconds away from sending Fugo to the afterlife. Then, he notices something very suspicious. suspicious. A crow drops dead out of nowhere, then another, and another. Turns out, when Purple Smoke punched that wall earlier, one of its bulbs cracked open and released its virus into the air, and straight into the mirror world. Now, Illuso is standing in the middle of an invisible death cloud. Purple Smoke might be wild without Fugo, but it's not dumb. It acted like it was punching randomly, but it was actually following Fugo's command, trying to help its master escape. Back outside, Giorno wants to save Fugo, but Abbacchio's laser-focused on the mission. Giorno agrees and stays behind, while Abbacchio storms off toward the dog mosaic to retrieve the key. Episode 13 is called Mirror Man and Purple Smoke. As Abbacchio runs to find the key, Illuso notices the pebbles moving from Abbacchio's footsteps and goes after him instead. He thinks whatever this Abbacchio guy's running after must be really important. Abbacchio finds the key hidden in a floor crack, but also spots Illuso creeping up in a mirror shard. Thinking fast, Abbacchio kicks the mirror and shatters it, but Illuso grabs a piece and pulls Abbacchio's hand into the mirror world.
Your breaking the mirror just made my job that much easier.
Since there are now tons of mirror pieces scattered around, Illuso can pop out from anywhere. Yikes! But there's one problem though. The Abbacchio that Illuso just pulled isn't Abbacchio at all. It's Moody Blues, his shape-shifting stand in disguise. The real Abbacchio is watching from outside through a mirror shard. Moody Blues starts pummeling Illuso, but just when it looks like our team has the upper hand, Illuso flips the script. He uses a mirror trick to pull the real Abbacchio inside the mirror world and then smushes Moody Blues and Abbacchio halfway into both worlds. Now, everyone is trapped, and Illuso's free to grab the key. Feeling cocky, Illuso threatens to shove a mirror shard into Abbacchio's mouth, but then realizes the key is gone. Why? Because Abbacchio straight up cut off his own hand and used Moody Blues' rewind powers to send it and the key flying back to Giorno. Now, that's really hardcore. Illuso races after Giorno and laughs triumphantly when he sees the kid just standing there holding the key. He grabs Giorno and yanks him into the mirror world, only to realize way too late that Giorno had cracked one of Purple Smoke's virus capsules before he was pulled in. Now, Giorno's hand is rotting, and since Illuso touched it, his hand is rotting too. Panicking, Illuso bails out of the mirror world, leaving his infected hand behind. Now, the good guys, Fugo, Giorno, and Abbacchio, are all stuck inside, while the enemy is outside. Fugo thinks it's all over, but Giorno's got one more wild idea. Turns out, Giorno used his stand to turn a brick into a snake. Since the snake was born in the virus zone, it can detect heat and has developed antibodies against the virus. Using the snake's movements, they track Illuso's location in the non-mirror world, and with Illuso's whereabouts now doxed, Fugo commands Purple Smoke to attack. Illuso tries using a mirror shard to send Purple Smoke away, but the stand launches another virus capsule straight into Illuso's face. The virus spreads in full force. Illuso starts melting into a screaming, gooey mess as Purple Smoke finishes the job with a brutal barrage of punches. Finally, the mirror world is gone, but Giorno is still infected. So, he takes the antibodies from the snake and injects himself like a boss, surviving the virus. Fugo, blown away, says Giorno has earned his respect. Giorno gives props to everyone, including the broody Abbacchio, who, of course, grumbles from around the corner and swears he's gonna punch Giorno later for not putting the mission first. Meanwhile, at a train station, a member of the assassin Hitman team examines a corpse and finds a mysterious piece of paper. Uh-oh, that can't be good. The next episode is called Express Train to Florence. Team Bruno just grabbed the mysterious key from Pompei, and thanks to Bruno's zipper powers, Abbacchio's sliced-off hand has been zipped back on like it's no big deal. The crew piles into their trusty minivan and heads to Naples train station. While driving, Abbacchio checks the jewel inside the key and finds more instructions. They're supposed to go straight to Platform 6 and catch the first train to Venice. At the station, two new assassins show up, the super serious Prosciutto and his nervous mama's boy and ugly partner Pesci. They're looking to finish what their fallen teammates couldn't. On the Platform 6, Bruno looks around confused. None of the locks match the key. Then he spots something odd, a turtle with a keyhole in its shell. Naturally, he jams the key into the turtle and boom, the team gets pulled into a secret room inside the turtle. Yes, this turtle, named Coco Jumbo, is basically a pocket-sized Airbnb, complete with living room, couch, and even a fridge.
Where am I? Under a seat?
The crew hides inside as the turtle casually waddles into the train's driver cabin. Despite their luck, Prosciutto strongly suspects that Bruno and his crew are hiding somewhere on the train, so he summons the Grateful Dead, a stand that makes everything around it age very rapidly. Oh boy. Back inside the turtle, everyone's trying to chill, but something's wrong. Narancia suddenly looks like he's 90, and the others aren't far behind. They're all aging so fast. Giorno, sharp as ever, even with wrinkles, realizes the stand isn't affecting everyone equally. Trish seems fine, so Giorno deduces that the enemy must be targeting people with higher body temperatures. So, the cooler you are, the better. The enemy wants Trish alive, so they're holding back on her. With barely any time left before they all turn to dust, Mista grabs the last 2 ice cubes from the fridge and steps out to cool down and fight. But it's looking really bad for every passenger on the train. Everywhere is warm, and Pesci has rigged the AC switch with his stand Beach Boy. Now, Beach Boy is a fishing rod with a hook that senses living things and treats any surface like water. When Mista punches the AC button to turn on the cold air, he gets hooked. Now, Mista's in big trouble because he has to deal with not 1, but 2 deadly stand users. Episode 15 is called The Thankful Death. Pesci's fishing rod stand starts reeling Mista in. The hook digs deep into his hand and starts crawling up his arm. Mista tries to shoot the line, but it just slices through the bullets and hurts him back. Things aren't looking great. Pesci is all smug, thinking he's won, but Mista's not out of tricks yet. He sends his tiny stand buddies, 6 bullets, number 6 and 7, on a search and smash mission. They zip through the train, passing terrified old passengers and finally making it to the bar section where Pesci is. Pesci tries to hide, but the bullets aren't aiming for him. They're targeting the glass of ice he was chugging up to stay cool, because without ice to cool down, the Grateful Dead's aging powers get deadly fast. The plan works. Pesci panics and drops his stand to save the last ice cubes, freeing Mista from the hook. Pesci then tries to flee, but a wrinkly passenger grabs him and will not let go. Mista rolls in and confronts him at gunpoint, demanding to know where his partner is. And surprise, surprise, that old man is Prosciutto in disguise. He touches Mista and suddenly Mista starts aging like crazy. Prosciutto scolds Pesci for being a coward, then casually shoots Mista 3 times in the head before leaving to find Trish. Damn! Thank goodness he wasn't shot 4 times at least. Prosciutto spots turtle poop in the driver cabin, and it doesn't take very long before the gang's secret hideout is discovered. Looking into the turtle's jewel, they spot Trish, but notice someone's missing. Bruno. Well, that's because Bruno is already on the move. Thanks to 6 bullets, Bruno was already briefed on the situation with Mista. Mista miraculously survived the headshots because number 5 cushioned the bullets just enough to keep him alive. Wow! So now, Bruno zips down from the roof and ambushes Prosciutto. Sticky Fingers and the Grateful Dead start going at it in a brutal close-quarters fight. Bruno's holding his own, but the effort heats him up too much, and he starts aging fast. With no other option, Bruno grabs Prosciutto and unzips the train wall, forcibly throwing both of them out of the speeding train. Now that's what I'd call a dramatic exit. In episode 16, titled The Thankful Death Part 2, we continue from where we left off, with Bruno and Prosciutto falling off the train. But just in time, Pesci throws out his stand and hooks his partner's hand, saving him from a literal train wreck. Now Bruno's hanging onto Prosciutto's leg, dangling from the train like a piece of cloth in a hurricane. The two start trading blows, but Prosciutto doesn't realize that Bruno's real target is Pesci's fishing line. Sticky Fingers slices it with a zipper, sending the hook flying out of Prosciutto's hand. And so now Prosciutto's falling to his death again, for real this time.
Curse you, Bucciarati!
Pesci starts panicking when he notices that Beach Boy is holding on to Bruno and not Prosciutto, so he goes for the kill. His hook slithers deeper into Bruno's body again and again, each time getting closer to his heart. Out of options, Bruno jumps back into the train and unzips himself into tiny pieces to hide. It's risky, and he can't breathe. If Pesci senses his heart beating, he's toast, so he unzips his own heart too. It's a brutal waiting game. Bruno eventually passes out after holding his breath for too long, and Pesci's starting to lose his cool because he can't find Bruno. Pesci finally slams the emergency brake to try and save Prosciutto, and the sudden stop sends Bruno's body parts flying back together. Pesci steps off the train, and guess who's back?
That was a train ride from hell. One that I would not have survived without some luck on my side.
Bruno's so freaking cool, man. They start fighting again, and as Pesci tries to deliver a deadly blow, Bruno uses the fishing line inside his arm to choke Pesci, literally snapping his neck. Ouch. As Pesci falls, he yanks Trish out of the turtle and threatens to squish Coco Jumbo like grapefruit. Bad move. An enraged Bruno sends a barrage of punches, zipping the bastard to pieces and throwing him into the river like the garbage he is. Prosciutto and Pesci are finally done for. Back inside the turtle, everyone has returned to normal, but then Bruno notices something odd, a claw mark on the floor next to Trish, meaning she probably has a stand and she doesn't understand it yet. And if she does have one, so does her father, the boss. We then cut to later that day. Malone, a creepy science guy from La Squadra, or the Hitman team, shows up at the crime scene. He finds the train wreck, confirms his colleagues are dead, and scoops up a blood sample belonging to Bruno. It hasn't even been 24 hours yet, and these assassins are already cooking up something nasty. Episode 17 is called Babyhead. It's around sunset, and some snobby lady on the express train locks herself in the fancy first class room, but she's about to have the worst first class experience ever, because Malone, our resident creep from La Squadra, sneaks in and starts analyzing her like she's a science experiment. He digs through her purse, checks her perfume, even takes notes on his laptop. The woman goes from annoyed to straight up terrified, and then his laptop grows arms. Yeah, his stand Babyhead slams her against the window and somehow she ends up pregnant with a stand. What the what? Turns out Babyhead can just create another stand to fight in its place. We then cut to Team Bruno, who are hiding inside a truck on their way to Rome. While Giorno and Narancia chill in the turtle, Giorno keeps an eye on Trish, hoping to see what kind of stand powers she might have. Things go sideways when Mista's stand 6 bullets steals a burger, and Mista has to knock out the truck driver to keep their cover.
Huh? What's this on its back?
What are we gonna do, Mista?
This causes an accident, and now they're stranded on the roadside. Thanks, Mista. Back on the train, the mysterious woman wakes up seemingly fine, until her mutant stand baby crawls out of her and turns her into little cubes. Ugh. This stand baby, let's call it Babyhead Jr., has now fully developed after being programmed by Malone. In fact, it becomes so focused on the mission that it steals Malone's motorcycle to go hunt down Trish. Meanwhile, Team Bruno debates whether or not they should steal a car to continue on their journey. Giorno, being Giorno, just turns a few cars into frogs to mess with any possible stand users tailing them. Mista, Fugo, Narancia, and Abbacchio are to go and find a new ride, while Giorno stays behind with Bruno and Trish. After the boys leave, Giorno notices Malone's bike and senses something's off. Out of nowhere, Trish and Bruno get instantly cubified. Babyhead Jr. tells Malone that it got the job done and now it's going after Giorno. Jr. launches a sneak attack, ripping out part of Gold Experience's throat, and now Giorno's choking. It snatches an eye and part of a leg too, while dodging every counterattack like a ninja Rubik's Cube. Things are looking bad. Giorno's broken, fighting alone and crawling on the floor with half of his throat missing. Then, the little demon stand shows up again with the turtle in hand, ready to make its getaway. But just as it revs up the bike, Giorno reappears, alive and barely standing. Giorno figured out that Babyhead Jr.'s ability splits things apart, while his own stand, Gold Experience, brings things to life. So our MC decides to manipulate random items into new body parts. Throat, leg, whatever he needed just so the fight could continue. Giorno attacks with multiple blows and lunges for the turtle, but Junior responds by slicing off Gold Experience's hand, or so he thinks, because that hand was actually a decoy made from part of the motorbike. It's crazy what happens next. The fake hand is transformed into a freaking living piranha that suddenly bursts out of Junior's body. Holy smokes! The next episode is called Head to Venice. We see another member of the Hitman team, Ghiaccio, closing in fast to offer Malone some backup. He calls the leader of the Hitman team, Risoto Nero, to give him an update. Risotto tells him to handle it and goes back to torturing some poor computer expert who dared to talk back. In return, the man loses an eye and a hand, courtesy of Risotto's mysterious stand. Meanwhile, after Giorno's surprise piranha attack, Junior is injured and furious. Malone tells it to hide and wait for help, but the little monster is too mad to listen. So mad that it starts evolving into an adult. Giorno then goes in with a punch, but Junior's cheek dissolves into cubes. As it tries to retaliate, Junior grabs Gold Experience's hand, or what it thought was a hand, and suddenly gets slammed down by a motorcycle. Turns out Giorno had turned the whole motorbike into a hand, and Junior foolishly absorbed it without realizing. Now, the little monster is covered in gasoline, and Giorno's trap is complete. The spark plug ignites it, flames burst out, and Babyhead Jr. is literally cooked.
What's the problem? Don't tell me you really thought Golden Wind was playing fetch with his own hand.
Later, Ghiaccio arrives at the deserted scene of all of this fighting and calls Malone for an update. While answering the call, Malone is planning to make another creepy stand baby, since Junior is out of commission. But Giorno's earlier battle left behind a poisonous snake, and it tracks Malone to his whereabouts, biting and killing him. Now that's a relief. Stand babies are just so weird and creepy, I don't like them. Team Bruno, meanwhile, thinks they're finally safe. No one's chased them for a while. But back in the Turtle, Bruno gets a message from the boss. Using Moody Blues, they replay a recording from 14 hours ago of Capo Pericolo. The old man shows the squad a photo, giving them one final mission. Take Trish to Venice and get a secret disc hidden at a lion statue by the train station. Then, Pericolo deletes the photo and himself. He shoots himself right out of the Turtle. I mean, anything for the boss, huh? Without wasting time contemplating that shocking scene, the squad splits up. Giorno and Mista are sent to grab the disc in Venice. It's 4:43 a.m., freezing cold, and Giorno's driving across the only road to Venice. Mista's trying to wipe the fog off the windows when suddenly, his little finger gets stuck to the glass. He realizes too late that the finger had snapped out of his hand and is now frozen. Giorno can already tell they're under attack. There's a freakishly cold wind, and Ghiaccio is on the roof of the car, casually waving the same photo Pericolo destroyed. Uh-oh. Mista starts shooting through the roof, but Ghiaccio is covered in super ice armor. The bullets do nothing. Some of the 6 bullets even get stuck in the ice. And now, thanks to the holes in the roof, the icy wind is flooding into the car. It's like driving through a freezer. Even after Gold Experience manages to throw him off the car, Ghiaccio returns and turns his armor into an ice skate suit. This guy has no chill, pun intended. Anyway, Ghiaccio's Stand White Album is a suit of armor that allows him to control the temperature of his surroundings, freeze objects, and use his ice armor for defense. So Iceman here starts skating down the highway at top speed like it's the Winter Olympics of death.
But you don't get off that easy!
He catches up and grabs Mista by the arm. In a last-ditch move, Giorno drives the car off the bridge, because when fighting someone who can freeze anything, just crash into the sea and hope for the best, yeah. The next episode is called White Ice, and as expected, after falling into the sea, Ghiaccio just goes full Elsa right off the bat. The car gets frozen, Giorno gets frozen, Mista almost gets frozen. Beating this guy is starting to feel like a tall order, but during their fight, Mista finally spots Ghiaccio's weak point, a tiny air hole at the back of his neck. It's partially covered by White Album's helmet. Mista pulls a clever move. He fires a shot at the water to make Ghiaccio flinch and tilt his head, exposing the air hole just enough for 6 bullets to ride a bullet into it. But Ghiaccio freezes the air itself to form invisible armor that rebounds the bullet back at Mista like a cold, sharp boomerang. Mista gets wrecked and stumbles back toward the city, bleeding and desperate. Ghiaccio catches up and even finds the secret disc before anyone else. Now the Hitman team is one step closer to unlocking the identity of the elusive boss himself. But then, Giorno, still stuck in the water, sees Mista struggling and realizes that they need guts, not luck, to win this match. So he smashes his frozen arm into ice and sprays his blood onto Ghiaccio to make the invisible frozen air shields visible, so Mista and 6 bullets can land a shot. And it works. At first, Mista's bullets bounce off of a lamppost, creating a very sharp edge. Mista then shoots Ghiaccio in the face, pushing him right into the sharp metal lamppost. It stabs into his ice armor and almost hits his neck. As usual, the boomerang happens again, this time knocking out Mista with a headshot. But don't you worry, because Giorno is here. He's swum all the way to shore just in time, and he's done playing the side character. Gold Experience stomps Ghiaccio's face over and over, pushing the metal spike deeper until the icy villain is officially turned into a popsicle kebab. Okay, that felt like the longest fight so far. The rest of the crew reunite with Giorno and Mista, but not before Narancia sees them in the middle of, a medical situation.
Too intense!
Did you find them?
Wait.
Kinda reminds me of that magnetic scene of Joseph and Avdol being totally inseparable. But that's in the past now. Episode 20 is titled The Final Mission from the Boss. Team Bruno is finally at the location where Trish's father is waiting. Only one person is allowed to go with her. No weapons, no phones, no funny business. The rest of the team has to wait behind on the boat. Bruno decides to escort Trish, but before leaving, he asks Giorno for a good luck brooch. Giorno then hands him one that Gold Experience has turned into a living tracker so the team can know his whereabouts. Bruno and Trish enter a quiet, creepy church and ride the elevator to the top, but just before they reach the belfry, Trish starts panicking. She doesn't know what kind of father is waiting for her, or what her future holds. Bruno comforts her gently, assuring that her father surely wants to protect her. And then, just like that, Trish disappears. Bruno looks down and realizes with horror that he's holding her severed arm. That's right, the boss never wanted a father-daughter reunion. He wanted to get rid of her, personally. At this breaking point, we flash back to Bruno's tragic past. As a child, he was the son of a poor fisherman, and after his parents divorced, he chose to stay with his father, whom he saw was truly heartbroken. But when Bruno was 12, his father was nearly killed by drug dealers after witnessing something he shouldn't have. Bruno protected him, stabbing the attackers, but the act forced him into the mafia life for survival.
What the hell are you doing? He's just a kid! Snatch the damn knife away!
At first, Bruno thought Passione was righteous, but over time, he realized the boss was behind the drug trade that ruined his father's life. That feeling of betrayal never left Bruno. Now, back in the church, Bruno has had enough. Furious and heartbroken, he vows to take the boss down and save Trish. He chases him down the elevator shaft using his zipper powers. Even though he can't see the boss's face, Bruno manages to secretly stick the living brooch to his coat. Then, using a clever shortcut through the wall, he gets ahead of the boss and hides behind a column, waiting to strike. But surprisingly, the boss, who's now carrying an unconscious Trish, speaks to him directly, warning him to leave immediately if he wants to live. Bruno goes completely against his survival instincts. As he leaps from hiding and attacks with sticky fingers, something behind a column grabs his arm and nearly breaks it. He escapes by unzipping himself, then slices through the column, but he finds no one there. It's like the boss is a ghost. He tends to Trish, who's now lying on the ground, zipping her severed hand together. Bruno calls Giorno to find out the boss's location, but Giorno confirms something truly spooky. The tracker shows that the boss is literally right next to him.
But wait, Bucciarati! Something's wrong! Until we know what it is, don't attack!
Confused as hell, Bruno smashes another column and, wait for it, sees another version of himself. What? At this point, it's adios amigo, and I'm bouncing out of there. But then suddenly, a new stand appears from the background, King Crimson, towering and terrifying. It blocks Bruno's view of the boss's face and delivers a terrifying monologue. This bad boy can erase time and see into the future. Before Bruno can even react, King Crimson punches straight through his stomach. Bruno screams in agony as the truth hits him like a brick. He's up against an enemy that might be completely unstoppable. The next episode is called The Mystery of King Crimson. Back on the boat, the crew is experiencing the effects of King Crimson's ability, but they just don't know it yet. Fugo casually asks Giorno for some water, while Mista and Narancia start fighting over sweets like little kids. But then, as if time itself skipped a few seconds ahead, the sweets disappear. Narancia is already chewing them without realizing how they got in his mouth, and Fugo finds himself gulping from the water bottle and thanks Giorno, who doesn't remember handing it to him. Giorno senses that something's not right. Meanwhile, even though Bruno's guts just got rearranged, he's not done yet. He zips the wound closed and manages to elbow King Crimson away, but the stand uses its freaky ability again, erasing time and dodging everything. In this erased time zone, the boss sees the future, watches Bruno's every move, and hits him with a brutal karate chop. But somehow, Bruno survives this powerful stand and escapes with Trish onto the top floor. Giorno finds both Bruno and Trish lying unconscious. Giorno heals him, but wait, something's wrong. Giorno notices that Bruno's body doesn't respond normally. The zippers on Trish's wrist have vanished. That can only mean one thing. Bruno is technically dead.
It can't be. No! Bucciarati!
As Giorno stares in shock, King Crimson sneaks closer, ready to strike again. Suddenly, Bruno's ghostly voice warns Giorno to run. Then, his body actually stands and repeats the message. Giorno doesn't question it. He turns a laptop into a flying fish, crashes it into a pillar to alert the rest of the gang, and they all escape. King Crimson doesn't follow because there are too many witnesses. Outside, the team is confused, so Bruno finally spills the beans. He's officially betrayed the boss. Giorno wants him to explain himself to the rest instead of marching off like a lone hero. Seconds later, Bruno suddenly collapses, and Giorno notices something terrifying. Bruno's hand has been pierced by a sharp spike, and he didn't even flinch or bleed. This is definitely not normal. Due to Gold Experience injecting him with life energy after he died, as well as his undying resolve, Bruno's body is able to function even though he no longer feels pain or bleeds. Bruno brushes off the concerns for his health, gets back up, and gives the team a choice: follow him and betray the boss, or stay behind. The group hesitates. Fugo steps back first, saying that he'll never survive against Passione. But then, Abbacchio steps forward, saying Bruno's the only one he trusts. Mista joins too, betting on Bruno to take down the boss. Narancia, shaking with fear, asks Bruno to order him to follow, but Bruno tells him this choice has to come from him. Narancia is left behind, frozen. The rebels board the boat and start to leave. Fugo watches, ranting about how reckless they are. But upon seeing Trish's wrist still bleeding from being attacked by her own father, Narancia recalls that feeling of being betrayed by people he considered family. With newfound courage, he dives into the water and swims after the boat, yelling for them to let him on. Everyone welcomes him back happily. Everyone except Fugo, who's left alone on the dock, already regretting his decision. Damn. The next episode is titled The G in Guts. Still in Venice, Team Bruno is navigating the canals, constantly aware that the boss has probably put a hit out on them. But then, 6 Bullets starts whining for lunch, so they stop at a restaurant. While Mista, Abbacchio, and Narancia get into a deep discussion about vegetarians, mostly to dunk on them, Giorno is the only one with his head on straight, keeping watch for assassins. Giorno also continues to keep an eye on Bruno, who's been acting a little different. He was so sure that Bruno was dead back when he found him at the church.
There's no question about it. His heart was stopped after his battle with the boss. This whole thing is so confusing.
Anyway, Abbacchio finally asks what the team should do next, prompting Bruno to explain that the boss has a stand that erases time, which makes him unbeatable unless they know who he is. Trish, who overhears, joins in and reveals that her mother met the boss in the city of Sardinia before he vanished from their lives. Sardinia, then, is the new hotspot for digging into the boss's mysterious past. Trish also insists on coming along, ready to face whatever chaos lies ahead. Just when things are starting to seem semi-stable, Narancia notices that his spoon has been demolished by a tiny shark lurking in his soup. He summons Aerosmith and fires, but the shark teleports into his new spoon and bites his tongue off. Ay ay ay! With his throat swelling and no way to speak, Narancia almost chokes, until Giorno casually jabs a pen into his neck to let him breathe and then grows him a brand new tongue. From a balcony above, 2 overly handsy Passione assassins, Squalo and Tiziano, are watching the drama unfold. Squalo's stand, Clash, can hop between liquids like a teleporting goldfish. Tiziano's talking head stand attaches itself to Narancia's tongue, forcing him to speak only lies. Poor Narancia. Now, every time he tries to help the team, he misleads them instead, pointing them toward disaster while panicking internally. As the group starts following Narancia's false directions, they end up in the restaurant bathroom, complete with sinks, toilets, and basically everything Clash needs to go full shark mode. Narancia tries to keep them away from water sources, but Talking Head turns his tongue into a faucet-opening puppet. Desperate, Narancia resorts to peeing on the toilet Abbacchio was going to scout, and the group, disgusted, finally walks out. That's one way to show your dedication. Giorno stays behind though, sensing something's off. Talking Head forces Narancia to grab a knife and slice open his own wrist, letting the blood lure Giorno closer, but Narancia fights back. He shoots a water pipe, heating it up with bullets, and seals the wound shut. Giorno finally puts the pieces together and realizes Narancia has been sabotaged.
Now I know something's not right. What's going on inside of your mouth?
Unfortunately, before anyone can celebrate this breakthrough, water from the pipe floods the floor, and Clash leaps out, tearing into Giorno's throat. Yikes! Episode 23 is called Clash and Talking Head. The chaos continues in Venice, and things are not looking good for Team Bruno. Narancia calls out Aerosmith to fight back, but Clash, the soup shark, is too fast, bouncing between any water it can find. Soup bowls, puddles, whatever the hell, all the while dragging Giorno along. Tiziano warns his partner Squalo that they need to stop Giorno from breathing entirely, or else Aerosmith will keep tracking him through his carbon dioxide. So Clash zips around, dodges attacks, and even tricks Narancia into shooting Giorno. It sounds bad, but it's actually part of Giorno's plan. He lets the bullets stay in his body so they can emit CO2 and let Aerosmith follow him like a heat-seeking missile. With that clever trick, Narancia finally manages to pinpoint and land a hit on Clash, injuring it and its user Squalo. Meanwhile, Bruno and the others are still trying to track the enemy with Moody Blues, but Moody Blues is stuck in a glass jar because Clash keeps teleporting between water sources, something Moody Blues can't replay. Back in the restaurant, Narancia chases Clash into the kitchen, where things go from bad to worse. The stove is leaking gas, Giorno is out of breath, and Squalo, out of hearing, keeps daring Narancia to shoot because he knows the place will just blow up. Instead of shooting, Narancia sends Aerosmith straight at Clash, using its propeller to slice it up and knock it into a wall. Just when Narancia thinks he's won, he realizes he can speak normally again. Talking Head has deactivated, but it was only temporary. Right as the rest of the team shows up, Narancia tries to warn them about the gas, but Talking Head forces him to lie again. Mista fires his gun and the kitchen explodes, sending everyone flying.
This is how you secure victory, my dear Squalo.
Here we go, 6 bullets!
Fire away, Mista!
In the middle of the chaos, Giorno, barely conscious, tells Narancia to stop chasing Clash and focus on the stand user. He gives Narancia a brooch, made from gold experience of course, and disappears with Clash. Narancia realizes he's probably the only one who can finish this. Out in the streets, Squalo and Tiziano try to escape by blending into the crowd. Squalo's injured and breathing heavily, but Tiziano thinks they're still safe. Narancia keeps yelling that he's found them, which means he must be lying because of Talking Head. But then they see something quite shocking. Narancia has cut out his tongue and replaced it with Giorno's brooch, now shaped like a new tongue. That means he can finally say what he means. Narancia calls them out again, truthfully this time, explaining how he identified Tiziano based on his breathing reaction to the tongue-cutting stunt. Without wasting time, Narancia sends Aerosmith flying toward them. Tiziano sacrifices himself to protect Squalo and dies in his arms, telling him to finish the mission. Yeah, like I care? Anyway, Squalo is now furious because his boyfriend got whacked. So he launches Clash again, using Tiziano's blood as a gateway. It leaps out and bites into Narancia's throat, but Narancia is all ready for the pain. He blasts Squalo high into the air and finishes him off with a full-force Aerosmith attack. Squalo crashes to the ground, confused how this mission went so wrong, and dies beside his partner. As the dust settles, Giorno appears nearby, alive but weak. Narancia is relieved. Even after all the chaos, Giorno had his back and helped pull off the win. With that obstacle out of the way, our MCs continue on their trip to Sardinia. The next episode is titled Notorious Chase. Team Bruno rolls up to the airport ready to take a flight to Sardinia. The good news is, flying means no stand users can chase them through the clouds. It's like hitting the fast forward button on their problems. While Abbacchio has Moody Blues cosplay as a pilot and punch in the airport code for Sardinia, the rest of the gang fans out to make sure the coast is clear. Trish stays in the cabin and side-eyes Bruno, who's still acting like a walking corpse, but she keeps her suspicions to herself, for now. Then, Narancia spots some random dude heading toward the plane, and this dude looks freaky as hell. Mista tells the guy to back off, but he keeps walking, so Mista shoots him in the leg. The guy's stand appears, but before it can do anything cool, Mista turns him into Swiss cheese after a few gunshots. Giorno checks the body with his power and confirms, yeah, this dude's 100% dead. Problem solved. Or so they think. The gang hops on the plane again, and Trish uses the quiet moment to talk with Bruno about their next move. Turns out the boss met her mom at a place called the Emerald Coast. That gives them a real lead. Finally, maybe this vacation to Sardinia will actually be productive. Then, Giorno hears a weird creaking sound. He checks a cabinet and finds a fridge. Oh my god, just a normal fridge with some ice trays. He shrugs and apologizes for the false alarm, but then Mista looks closer and spots fresh human fingers in the ice. Yeah, not so normal after all. Bruno zippers the whole fridge out of the plane like it's trash day, and they all relax for like 2 seconds. Then, Giorno notices graffiti appearing on the walls. Graffiti that's spelling out his thoughts. And then the writing on the wall gets real. It says they're being attacked by a stand called Notorious Chase. This horrible stand has the ability to absorb energy, including attacks, and only activates after its user is dead. And the horror doesn't stop there. Giorno looks down and sees his arm turning into a flesh monster. Turns out, the stand user Mista shot earlier was the one who controlled Notorious Chase. Great. Just great. Mista shoots off Giorno's infected arm, but 4 of his beloved 6 bullets get gobbled up in the chaos. Mista passes out. Narancia gets slashed while flying Aerosmith. Everyone's getting wrecked! Bruno yells at Trish to run, but the stand zooms after her too. Turns out this stand responds to speedy movements more than anything else. Giorno, with one good hand left, smashes a window to lure the blob toward it, and then he cuts off the hand. And just like that, with no hands, our boy Giorno is officially the first disabled JoJo. Notorious Chase is gone for now, but before they can high-five... Giorno doesn't have hands anymore. The damage is already done. Mista and Narancia are both bleeding out, and Giorno's out of commission. Bruno drags what's left of Team Wounded into the turtle and safely places it in the cockpit. Meanwhile, Trish is now alone in the cabin, and she soon realizes that Notorious Chase is still on board.
We're flying through the air at a high speed. It's drawn to whatever object is moving fastest.
Of course, getting rid of it wasn't going to be that easy. But just when things look their worst, she sees Giorno's brooch slowly turning into a hand. Dio Brando Jr., that crazy son of a gun, had planted a backup hand just in case. Trish suddenly realizes if she can protect that hand, Giorno might be able to miss out on permanent disability welfare. The next episode is titled Spicy Lady. Now, this is not exactly the in-flight experience Trish was hoping for. She's got a rage-fueled death blob stand chasing her around like she owes it money. But there's one small silver lining. Giorno's brooch is turning into a new hand. Unfortunately, the transformation is not exactly stealthy, so Notorious Chase moves to destroy it. Trish panics and starts using the reclining seats as a distraction, but then she gets caught by Notorious Chase, which would have wrecked her immediately if she didn't suddenly awaken her own stand. Meet Spicy Lady, a stand that can soften any object.
Never once have I left your side.
So once Trish grabs the brooch and starts to run, Spicy Lady's ability makes the seats feel like a trampoline, absorbing Notorious Chase's attack and flinging it back across the cabin. A chunk of the blob even gets sliced off in the rebound. Not bad for the lady's first day on the job. A few minutes later, Bruno opens the cockpit door and is trying to investigate the plane. For some reason, the plane is losing altitude and heading straight down. Well, it turns out a tiny piece of Notorious Chase made it to the jet engine and is now munching on raw energy and growing huge. And when I say huge, I mean this huge. Trish suddenly shoves Bruno and herself into the cockpit and slams the door shut. Then she softens the walls of the cockpit so the blob can't smash through and detaches the whole cockpit from the plane using Spicy Lady. The cockpit turns into a makeshift parachute, gently drifting away while the full plane explodes midair. Everyone is amazed. Not only did Trish save them, but now the enemy probably thinks they're all dead in a fiery crash. But there's still one piece of the blob clinging to Abbacchio. Bruno casually lures it onto his arm and then has Spicy Lady slice the limb clean off. Abbacchio is horrified, but Giorno's fresh new hand is finally ready, and that's how everyone gets brand new limbs again. Meanwhile, the boss is really freaking out. He's digging through old photos, paranoid that Trish and the gang are closing in on his big secret. He sees a 15-year-old snapshot of Trish's mom taken in Sardinia, the very place he once hid out, and now the rebels are headed there. So the boss silently vows to handle this situation personally. And of course, still no face reveal. Episode 26 is titled A Little Story from the Past. My name is Doppio. Let's rewind all the way to 1965 to an all-women's prison. No men around, just female inmates and female guards. So naturally, everyone's shocked when one prisoner suddenly gives birth to a baby boy.
This little rugrat was born with his eyes wide open, but the really bizarre thing is, he hasn't cried at all.
The woman claims she got pregnant 2 years earlier and that the father's already dead. No one really knows what to make of it. A priest from her hometown steps in, adopts the baby, and raises him like his own. The boy grows up to be a sweet, awkward, clumsy little guy who dreams of becoming a sailor. Fast forward to 1985. He's 19 and dating a young woman named Donatella. One day, the priest sees them together at the Emerald Coast and decides to build a garage for his adopted son. But while digging under the house, he makes a horrifying discovery. The boy's real mother is buried beneath the floor, mouth sewn shut, and somehow still alive. And before the priest can call, well, anyone, the kid walks in. And then, by the next day, the entire village has mysteriously burned to the ground. Everyone's presumed dead, including the boy and the priest. You can guess how true that is, though. Now, we're back in the present. A teenager runs into a fortune teller. The guy immediately gets weirdly obsessed and begs to read the teen's future. The teen politely says no thanks, but the guy just keeps going, correctly guessing creepy personal stuff. You're from Sardinia. You've been gone a long time. You've got a dark secret. And even, you've got a teenage daughter. Hearing that, the boss takes over the teen's personality. Yeah, the teen and the boss are sharing the same body. Color me bamboozled. Anyway, the boss realizes this fortune teller isn't a stand user but could still be a threat. So, he has the guy predict where Risoto Nero, the leader of the Hitman team, is hiding. Once he gets his answer, he finishes him off with King Crimson. A little boy nearby kinda sees what happens, but luckily the boss is already back in his teenage disguise. This teen's name is Doppio, by the way, and just casually hops into a taxi to head to the Emerald Coast.
Our next story comes to us from Via continues. Despite a strong...
This stupid taxi driver, of course, tries to scam him. He roughs Doppio up and reaches into his envelope, which contains a photo of Donatella Una. Big mistake. Doppio freaks out and almost gouges the guy's eyes out. Then, right in the middle of his meltdown, he hears a phone call from a doll. Yeah, a doll. He holds it like a phone and talks to the boss, who tells him to calm down and warns him that Risoto is nearby. Now, just to be clear, there are no phone calls. Doppio just has a weird habit of muttering a ringtone and picking up random objects to speak with the boss. Insane. For real. While gathering his stuff, Doppio suddenly notices Risoto standing right next to him and throwing a knife at his feet, just casually making an entrance. Doppio tries to play the clueless tourist act, but Risoto isn't buying it. He demands to see what Doppio's hiding. Doppio manages to sneak the Donatella photo under his shoe, but makes the mistake of reacting to the sound of Aerosmith flying nearby. Risoto realizes only a stand user could hear that, and he immediately suspects that this weirdo must be tied to the boss. Doppio starts to get angry, but before he can fully switch personalities, he suddenly pukes out a bunch of razor blades. Risoto's stand, Metallica, can turn the iron in human blood into all sorts of weapons. Yeah, definitely not fun. Even more furious now, Doppio charges at Risoto to try to get within range, but Risoto makes nails grow out of his face to stop him and then disappears. Desperate, Doppio picks up the closest thing he can find, a frog, and uses it like a phone to call the boss. The boss answers and tells him to hang in there, and lucky for Doppio, the boss is gonna lend him a piece of King Crimson's power. Oh boy! Episode 27 is called King Crimson vs. Metallica, and Doppio is still facing off against the last member of La Squadra, Risoto Nero himself. The boss has handed Doppio a chunk of his stand's powers, the spooky future vision of Epitaph and the punching arms of King Crimson. You know, just enough power to hopefully not die. Using Epitaph, Doppio sees a preview of his near future, Risoto creeping up on him and a pair of scissors getting lodged in his throat.
What the hell?
Naturally, Doppio freaks out and tries to attack him first. I mean, who wouldn't? Risoto does exactly what was predicted and makes scissors appear in Doppio's throat, but Doppio yanks them out before they do any real damage. Turns out, Future Vision's pretty handy. Frustrated, Risoto vanishes again to cook up something deadlier. When I say vanish, I mean this guy becomes a chameleon, blending in completely with the environment. Yeah, that's also another cool ability of Metallica. Then, lil old Doppio sees another flash of the future, scissors flying, a severed foot, foot. Things are really escalating. He calls the boss in a panic, like a kid calling his mom from boarding school. The boss tells him to retreat, but Doppio can barely stand. Turns out Risoto's strategy is to slowly turn his targets into iron-deficient ragdolls. That's when Doppio puts 2 and 2 together. He sees razor blades coming out of the phone frog he was holding and realizes Risoto's been yanking the iron out of living things. Using that clue, Doppio hurls the scissors at where he thinks Risoto is hiding and slices off his foot. Not bad. However, Risoto's foot flies back to him and reattaches itself with iron staples like nothing happened. His creepy worm-like stand Metallica makes a quick cameo, and then Risoto camouflages himself again. He remembers his dead crewmates. He's angry, he's hurting, and he's determined to avenge the fallen members of his assassin team. Doppio, meanwhile, is rapidly running out of blood, oxygen, and time. Risoto keeps chucking blades at him, bragging about how Doppio is doomed even without a final blow. Doppio's blood is now yellow due to the deterioration of iron, and as if that's not enough stress, Doppio sees one last horrifying future vision: Risoto vanishing and his own head getting blown right off. Damn. The boss tries to take control and erase the danger with King Crimson, but Doppio's too weak to hold on. Risoto comes in for the kill, ready to finish what he started, but just as he's about to slice Doppio's head open like a melon, Risoto is suddenly shot from behind by Aerosmith. It's a surprise third-party attack. God damn it!
What? How?
Narancia and the gang had been scouting the area in search of enemies. His stand, Aerosmith, detects carbon dioxide, aka breathing, and Doppio, thanks to all of his iron loss, wasn't breathing very much. So when Narancia's radar picked up on the movement, the only thing it could see was Risoto. As Risoto gets lit up with another round of bullets, the boss calmly declares victory. One more rebel down, and a whole lot more to go. The next episode is titled Beneath a Sky on the Verge of Falling. After getting Risotto shot full of holes, the boss isn't out of the woods just yet. Bruno tells Abbacchio to rewind time with Moody Blues to figure out what the boss looks like, but Abbacchio, ever the realist, reminds him that with their luck, they better double check the scene of Aerosmith's attack. After all, last time they thought someone was dead, they got attacked by an immortal stand blob. Bruno and Narancia go to examine Risotto's corpse, while Abbacchio does his thing. Damn, if only they knew what would happen in the next few minutes. Up on the cliff, Risotto is very much not dead, but he's almost there. As the boss finally shows himself, well, sort of. The sun conveniently blinds us from seeing his face. How cinematic. He praises Risotto for being a pain in the neck, and then offers to finish him off mercifully in exchange for returning the iron he sucked out of his body. Risotto responds by whispering something suspiciously quiet, then lunges to grab him tightly. He hopes to take the boss down with him. Turns out he cleverly stuck some Metallica on Aerosmith using his blood, and the plan now is to draw Narancia's little plane stand closer so it can shoot at Risotto, while the boss is used as a human shield. Too bad the boss hits pause on reality and erases half a second, letting the bullets skip right past him and blast Risotto in the face. Oof! And that marks the end of the Hitman team. But the boss is still out here falling apart from blood loss. Bruno and Narancia are closing in fast, so he starts eating a frog like a desperate iron-deficient caveman, while Narancia scans the area with Aerosmith. They find something odd. One source of CO2 is slowly sinking away from the scene and headed towards the beach where the tourists are. Meanwhile, Abbacchio successfully rewinds Moody Blues to the day Trish's mom took that Emerald Coast photo. While that's happening, some kids playing football by the beach are causing a ruckus nearby. Abbacchio has a wholesome moment helping them get their ball out of a tree. It's all nice. Until King Crimson punches through his chest out of nowhere. Yeah, the boss snuck in disguised as one of the kids, because apparently he has no qualms whatsoever. As Moody Blues crumbles away, we cut to a peaceful scene. Abbacchio can be seen in a strange dreamscape conversing with a mysterious cop. The cop talks about doing what's right even if it doesn't always work out. Abbacchio starts to realize that this is his old partner, the one who died in the line of duty. That's when it hits him like a train wreck. He's now dead too. But even in death, he finds peace in knowing he tried to live without any more regrets. Back on the beach, the squad is crushed. Narancia demands Giorno heal Abbacchio, but Giorno can't do anything anymore. This guy's already gonzo. Bruno, trying to keep the mission alive, tells everyone to move on. Narancia flips out and accuses everyone of being heartless, but Giorno notices something strange. Abbacchio is holding a rock. Naturally, he turns it into a ladybug and it leads them to a hidden stela, a stone tablet bracelet. On it, a negative image of the boss's face and his fingerprints. Even in death, Abbacchio managed to finish the mission.
You've made everyone proud. Your unrelenting determination to uncover the truth has made its way to the hearts and minds of your comrades.
And just like that, Team Bruno leaves the beach with grief in their hearts and the biggest clue yet to taking down the boss. Episode 29 is called Get to the Roman Colosseum. After copying the boss's face and fingerprints from Abbacchio's final clue, Giorno starts running the prints through every database possible. Criminal records, birth records, maybe even pizza delivery apps. But nothing comes up. The guy is a total ghost. Trish mentions that she felt the boss nearby, but Bruno isn't interested in picking a fight just yet. He knows better than to dive into round 2 without a game plan, especially with more creepy stand users likely on the way. Then, out of nowhere, the team gets a mysterious call on their laptop. The caller claims to be on their side and also wants to take down Diavolo, the true name of the boss. To prove they're legit, they show off a photo of the stand arrow and hint there's a secret power hidden in it, one that could maybe, possibly, finally beat King Crimson. Bruno doesn't fully trust this rando internet ally, but he's desperate and agrees to meet them in Rome. So the squad hops on a boat and leaves Sardinia. Meanwhile, not so far away, Diavolo catches on that his rebellious underlings are up to something. He sends Doppio to follow them and calls his worst-case scenario backup the nightmare duo Cioccolata and Secco. These two are so over-the-top evil that Diavolo had to think twice about involving them. While Team Bruno sails towards Rome, their mystery ally gives them the lore dump. The arrows were made from a meteorite that crashed in Greenland. This meteorite had a virus that kills most people but gives a lucky few stand powers. Basically, space virus plus surviving equals magic powers. The arrow is a tool made to awaken that hidden potential, and there's more to it, but they won't explain until the team shows up in person. Suspicious, but sure.
And I should clarify, only one of you may learn this secret, because it is imperative that no one else ever comes to know of the true power this arrow holds.
The meeting point is the Colosseum in Rome. By the time Team Bruno reaches a little seaside village outside Rome, everything starts to go sideways. The people around them start melting, like for real. Mista sees gray mold eating everyone and panics. He pulls out his gun, but his hand is already infected. We briefly cut to Cioccolata and Sato creepily watching from a rooftop like two reality TV producers from hell. Cioccolata has just unleashed his stand Green Day, which spreads deadly mold to anyone moving downward, like stairs, jumping down, even ducking. And in case you thought Cioccolata might have a tragic backstory, no, he's just awful. He used to work in a retirement home where he tortured old people for fun. Then he became a doctor, but only to murder his patients creatively. His partner Secco, a former patient turned human pet who follows him around like a slobbering golden retriever. And he carries around a camera for proper documentation of their victim's suffering. These two are Passione's freakiest freaks. Back at the village, the mold is spreading fast. Narancia tries to retreat to the boat, but stepping down triggers the mold, and now he's being eaten alive like a week-old sandwich. Even Coco Jumbo gets hit. No, not the turtle! Giorno, mid-decomposition, figures out how the stand works and warns the others. Thinking fast, Mista shoots the boat's engine and makes it explode, launching both Narancia and the turtle into the air like flaming beach balls. The plan works, and they land safely back on shore. The next episode is titled Green Day and Sanctuary. After Mista launches everyone up to shore, the team gets a brief moment to breathe. Narancia is in rough shape, so Bruno steps up to take point while Giorno tends to the wounded. Cioccolata, watching from a distance like the world's creepiest director, is thrilled. He praises Secco for capturing the team's despair on camera, then tosses him some treats.
Yo! Good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy, good.
Secco, acting like a weird human dog, catches them with well-aimed spits and celebrates by getting ready to hunt. Cioccolata sends Secco out with his stand Sanctuary, which basically turns the ground into a gross quick mud. Meanwhile, Mista and Bruno steal a car and try to make a run for it by heading up some stairs to a parking lot. Back on the stairs, weird things start happening. Beer cans roll down the steps and disappear. The stairs begin to sink into the ground, and the stones starts acting like solid mud. Secco is tunneling underneath, turning the area into a death trap. In a clever move, Bruno jumps off the lot and hides on the wall, waiting for Secco to come close before ambushing him with sticky fingers. Secco panics and escapes underground again, confused as to why Bruno wasn't infected by the mold. Secco calls Cioccolata to ask if the mold also works on non-living things. Cioccolata is confused because Bruno really does feel like a corpse. While they're scratching their heads about zombie logic, Team Bruno is already speeding off toward Rome. In the car, Mista is amazed by Bruno's survival skills, but decides to nap instead of asking questions. Giorno tries to heal Bruno and finally figures it out. He's not just injured, he's undead. No heartbeat, no pain, and his body is starting to go numb. Bruno has already accepted his fate. He calls it a miracle and asks Giorno to keep it a secret from the rest of the crew. Just then, the piece is shattered by a loud thud and a mold-covered corpse slamming into the windshield. Cioccolata is now above them in a helicopter, showering the area with Green Day mold. Since the road is sloping downwards, the mold activates again, forcing the team to bail out of the car mid-drive. Once they get up, they see mold spreading through the air, hitting nearby civilians and creating a pandemic. Giorno is furious and worried that their mystery ally waiting at the Colosseum might be infected too. Giorno and Mista then team up for some creative violence. Mista fires bullets at a tower near the helicopter, and Giorno uses gold experience to grow trees from the bullets. The trees tangle up the chopper, trapping Cioccolata at the top. With their enemy now stuck, Giorno and Mista sprint uphill to take him down. Meanwhile, Bruno stays behind to deal with Secco, who's eager for another round. The next episode is called Green Day and Sanctuary Part 2. As Secco is about to confront Bruno, he remembers that his camera's not propped up to record the fight. While he sets up the camera, Bruno tries to land a sneak attack. Too bad Secco's faster than he looks and lands a solid kick to Bruno's jaw. Realizing that Secco's basically a rabid mole with the speed and power of a wrecking ball, Bruno slices the ground with sticky fingers and escapes down to the streets before things get worse. Since the mold doesn't affect his already zombie-ish body, Secco just decides to beat Bruno to a pulp the old-fashioned way. Back at the tower, Giorno and Mista arrive at the chopper. Mista fires bullets via 6 bullets, but when the bullets crash into the seemingly empty helicopter, his little stand buddies start dropping like flies. Number 2, number 3, number 6, number 7, down they go. Mista's in severe pain. Giorno has no clue what's happening, and poor number 5 is left panicking. Determined to rescue 6 bullets, Giorno climbs up to fight Cioccolata himself, taking number 5 and a bullet along for backup. He climbs to the front of the chopper and spots a bunch of bloody surgeon tools and fears for the worst. Suddenly, Giorno finds number 1, injured but alive. Just as he leans in, Cioccolata pops out like a horror movie jump scare. Giorno manages to block the first hit, but gets a good look at Cioccolata's nightmare of a body. The guy's basically a human torso with one arm, having used his medical knowledge to chop himself up, animate his limbs with mold, and avoid dying. Cioccolata then reassembles his body, starts ranting like a mad scientist, and has Green Day bash Giorno clean out of the chopper. But number 5 kicks a bullet into Giorno's hand, and gold experience turns it into a branch that saves him from falling.
Grazie! I owe you one!
Cioccolata, being the evil weirdo he is, tilts the helicopter so the branch drops, thereby allowing mold to eat through it. As Giorno falls off the branch, he's getting covered in mold and looking like he's toast. Cioccolata leans out of the helicopter, super proud of himself, until Giorno kicks a chunk of tree branch into the air. The branch turns back into a bullet and blasts through Cioccolata's skull. The lunatic crashes into a tree, seemingly done for, but Giorno suspects Cioccolata is faking his death, so he offers fake mercy if the guy just lies still. When there's no answer, Giorno jumps up onto the roof, triggering Cioccolata's trap. Just like clockwork, Cioccolata springs up, monologues about how clever he is, and reveals he's sent his severed arm to go choke Mista. It's classic villain gloating, right up until a stag beetle explodes out of his head. Turns out, Giorno had also set up a trap of his own. He was offering mercy to stall for time so the bullet he kicked earlier could transform into a bug and chew up Cioccolata Cioccolata's brain from the inside. When Cioccolata begs for the mercy that Giorno offered, Giorno casually admits he was lying the whole time. Then, in one of the most iconic beatdowns of all time, Gold Experience absolutely wrecks him. Punch after punch after punch until Cioccolata flies into a garbage truck and gets compacted like yesterday's leftovers. Unbeknownst to anyone, someone in the Colosseum is watching through binoculars, keeping an eye on the action. The next episode is called Green Day in Sanctuary Part 3. So right around the same time Giorno kicked a bullet into Cioccolata, Secco gets a voicemail from Green Day Man, who's somehow still whispering with a bullet in his brain. He's letting Secco know that Team Bruno is heading to the Colosseum to meet someone important. If he dies, he wants Secco to go there and steal whatever secret the gang's after. Secco gets the message, figures out his partner's dead by now, and does the most respectful thing imaginable. Laughs out loud, trashes the phone, and calls Cioccolata a weak-ass loser. Turns out he was only sticking around for the perks. Friends these days.
Screw you, Cioccolata! You thought I'd get all weepy over you? Give me a break, loser!
Now, with his own goals, Secco rushes off towards the Colosseum. It soon turned into an underground marathon of sorts, with Bruno zipping his way through and trying to stay silent, and Secco using his hearing and stand ability brilliantly to stop Bruno. At a point, Secco chews up rocks, spits them into the sky at high speed, and lets them rain down as deadly stone spikes. And it works. Bruno gets hit and realizes he's in serious trouble. Meanwhile, the guy with the binoculars from last episode? Surprise, surprise! It's Jean-Pierre Polnareff, legendary Frenchman and Stardust Crusader alumni. I'm sure you remember him. So, Polnareff's got the stand arrow, and if Team Bruno doesn't show up soon, he's ready to destroy it. Back underground, Bruno's still getting pelted with stone spikes, so he uses sticky fingers to deflect them, but the sound gives away his position. Secco goes in for a massive punch that causes part of the street and a nearby car to collapse into the ground. Bruno punches the car's tire. Yeah, a tire. And it explodes. What's the logic here, you ask? Because the noise is deafening, and Bruno can't hear or feel anything anyway. But Secco, his entire strategy relies on hearing. He's now deaf and completely disoriented. Trying to blindly land a kick, Secco sticks his leg up above ground, just in time to get it crushed by a passing car. Secco panics, grabs a random passerby as a hostage, and it just so happens to be Doppio. Yeah, of all the people he could grab, he picks the human meat puppet of the boss. Secco tries to use Doppio to call a taxi and escape, but Bruno calmly zips his arm straight through Doppio and punches Secco right in the chest. He even zips Secco's arm to his own chest, leaving him totally helpless. Then, Secco stumbles forward, straight into a garbage truck, the same one that Cioccolata got tossed into earlier. Poetic justice, I say. And off to the incinerator they go. Meanwhile, Bruno collapses. His body is finally giving out. He's dying. Again. And this time it might actually be the end.
I knew this moment would come. But why now?
As Bruno lies there, fading fast, Doppio approaches quietly. Looks like it's time for the boss to make his move. Episode 33 is titled His Name is Diavolo, and our man Bruno has finally hit his limit. The life force finally ran out. After beating Secco in their underground mud wrestling match, Bruno collapses right in front of the Colosseum. However, just when it looks like he's done for, Doppio shows up and offers to help Bruno get inside the Colosseum, mainly so he can figure out what this half-dead guy is really up to. As Doppio helps him across the street, he starts noticing how weird Bruno really is. Our man can't see, but somehow he spots a wound on Doppio's neck, the exact same one from Doppio's earlier fight with Risoto. Before Doppio can process any of that, Mista shows up. Doppio quickly drags Bruno behind a column to hide. Desperate, he's seconds away from finishing Bruno off, but the boss himself, Diavolo, tells him to chill. He explains that Bruno is basically dead right now and can only see spirits, so Diavolo shows a bit of his aura, making Bruno think he's dealing with Trish, a real father-daughter moment. As Bruno and Doppio, aka fake Trish, walk through the Colosseum, Diavolo warns that someone's watching them. It's Polnareff, now in a wheelchair but still rocking that heroic energy. He tells them not to move and immediately gets suspicious of Doppio.
The problem's your friend. I never said you could bring a +1. I can't find a shred of data on them in my records.
To test them, Polnareff asks Trish to show her stand. Doppio freezes like a deer in headlights. Diavolo quickly figures out that this guy isn't just some nosy bystander. He's experience. When Diavolo spots the arrow sitting on Polnareff's lap, he starts putting the pieces together. You see, way back in 1986, Diavolo was working a part-time gig in Egypt when he stumbled across 6 weird arrows. He realized they gave people powers, sold 5 to that creepy Enya lady, and kept 1. After Dio, the great bitch man, was defeated, Jotaro and Polnareff started investigating the arrows. Jotaro went off exploring other continents, while Polnareff dug around in Europe. Diavolo didn't like that and sent the Passione goon squad after him. Eventually, Diavolo confronted Polnareff himself, beating him badly and tossed him off of a cliff. Sheesh! Back in the now, Bruno and Polnareff suddenly realize Trish has vanished and things around them have mysteriously shifted. Polnareff's binoculars are broken and objects are out of place. Across the Colosseum, Giorno, Mista, and the real Trish also feel something weird. Time has skipped. That can only mean one thing. Diavolo is here. And oh boy, what a reveal.
Conquered our phantoms, wouldn't you say? How lovely to see you again, Jean-Pierre Polnareff.
Diavolo!
As much as this guy looks like a fashion icon on a strict diet, his presence alone is menacing, and he's ready to put an end to Polnareff's storyline for good. Diavolo uses King Crimson to skip time and attack, but Polnareff cuts him off with his stand silver chariot. How the hell did that happen? Well, Polnareff had pricked his thumb before Diavolo's attack, and is using the drops of blood to measure time skips like a human stopwatch. In one last move, Polnareff uses chariot to fling the arrow into itself, causing it to start changing. But as soon as time resets, Diavolo stabs Polnareff right through the chest. Polnareff reflects on his journey with the Joestar gang as he dies, hoping this final move was enough. Damn. Feeling victorious, Diavolo picks up the arrow like it's a winning lottery ticket. He's ready to crush the rest of Team Bruno when he spots something strange. A mysterious figure in black quietly walking right past him. He yells to find out who it is, but the figure says nothing. Then Diavolo sees it, an arrow-shaped mark glowing on the back of the stranger's neck. Quite spooky. The next episode is titled The Requiem Quietly Plays, and a new figure has arrived to shake things up. Diavolo drops the arrow and suddenly starts dozing off like someone hit his off switch. And he's not the only one. Giorno, Mista, Trish, Bruno, even the turtle, and all of Rome, birds, humans, stray dogs, you name it, all instantly fall asleep. Time skips ahead and it's already morning. Giorno and Trish wake up under the soft light of dawn. They're a little groggy, but then Giorno sees his hands are bleeding. Before he can figure it out, Trish runs off to grab Coco Jumbo and Mista's gun, yelling out to Giorno. But when she hears her own voice respond, she realizes something's very wrong. Turns out she's not in her own body, and neither is anyone else. The gang has swapped bodies. Mista is now in Trish's body and seems oddly okay with it. Trish is now stuck in Mista's body and is having a full-blown mental breakdown. Giorno is in Narancia's body, and Narancia is in Giorno's. What the hell is happening?
Damn! My armpits stink! Dear Lord, just kill me!
Narancia sees Bruno lying on the ground and wants to check on him, but Giorno warns him to stay back. Something's off with Bruno. He's definitely been swapped too. On top of that, they notice their stands have powered up somehow, though no one knows why. Trish mentions she can't feel her father's presence anymore either, which only deepens the mystery. Then things get weirder. Coco Jumbo starts talking. No, really, a talking turtle. Turns out Polnareff's soul is now inside the turtle. Coincidentally, during the soul swap incident, Polnareff's soul was able to leave his dead body behind and quickly find a new host. He explains that this mess started when his stand, Silver Chariot, got stabbed with the arrow, which made it evolve into something new, Chariot Requiem. And Chariot Requiem's superpower is to randomly swap souls. Polnareff says he's seen this happen once before, and the only way to stop it is to take the arrow back from Chariot Requiem's hands. Easier said than done. Just then, Narancia spots someone walking in. It looks like Diavolo, calmly headed toward Chariot Requiem. The group quickly sets up an ambush, but what they see next blows their minds. Diavolo uses sticky fingers to punch Chariot Requiem and chop off the hand holding the arrow. Clearly, that's not Diavolo, that's Bruno. He's now in Diavolo's body. Man, as if things couldn't go any more off the rails. The next episode is titled The Requiem Quietly Plays Part 2. It's kinda weird weird seeing Diavolo as part of our team, but anyway, when Bruno tries to grab the arrow, his own stand Sticky Fingers suddenly turns against him. The same thing happens to Mista when he tries to help. One of his own 6 bullets goes rogue and tries to shoot him. Thankfully, Trish jumps in and uses Spicy Lady to soften the bullet, saving Mista.
He's become a defensive stand. As long as he lives, he'll allow no one to touch the arrow.
The team realizes that Chariot Requiem can somehow make their stands turn on them if they try to grab the arrow. That's gonna make it much harder to win. Then, one of the bullets alerts them. Bruno's original body has just woken up. Bruno tells Mista to shoot it right away. Mista hesitates, but eventually fires and brings the body down. While all of that is happening, Narancia is feeling hopeful about the future. He talks about how he wants to go back to school, eat more good food, and just live a peaceful life. But suddenly, something strange happens. Mista realizes the bullets Trish gave him have mysteriously fallen to the ground. That's when Polnareff realizes time must have skipped again, which means the boss is nearby. Then, the worst happens. The group looks up and sees Narancia. He's been impaled on metal bars above them. They try to save him, but it's too late. Narancia's soul is already gone. Damn! There goes one of my faves. As for the looming danger, Polnareff explains the truth. Diavolo and Doppio are 2 souls in one body. When Chariot Requiem caused the body swap, it only swapped one of them. That means Diavolo's soul is still hiding nearby, probably inside some stranger. Narancia was likely the first target because his radar stand would have exposed the boss. Giorno, now back in his own body, gently covers Narancia's body in flowers and promises to bring him home. Damn. Later, the team goes into the streets of Rome and they find Chariot Requiem again. Bruno notices that Requiem isn't very strong physically, so he trips it. It falls and drops the arrow. Giorno tries to pick it up, but it turns out Requiem has a second ability. It protects the arrow by stopping anything non-living from touching it. Also, if someone with a stand tries to grab it, their own stand might attack them. Polnareff, who's now just a soul inside Coco Jumbo the turtle and doesn't have a stand anymore, bites down on the arrow to keep it safe. He tells Mista, who is nearby, to take the arrow and use it to power up his stand. Just then, Chariot Requiem gets back up and starts running straight toward Polnareff, aka the turtle. Don't screw this up, Mista! In the next episode, titled Diavolo Surfaces, it's revealed that Doppio had actually been inside Bruno's body the whole time. After seeing where Diavolo's soul ended up, Doppio feels confident that the boss is about to win, but Doppio's badly injured and sadly left all alone, waiting for a call from his boss that'll never come. Meanwhile, Polnareff, in the turtle body, grabs the arrow which causes Chariot Requiem to freak out and rush toward him. Mista tries to stop it, but his revolver suddenly breaks into pieces. Luckily, he pulls out a backup gun he stole from a police officer and shoots Chariot in the face, stopping it briefly. Requiem, of course, grabs the arrow right back. It then tries to attack Polnareff, only to touch the turtle and then weirdly back off. Soon enough, the turtle starts to mutate, and Polnareff has a realization. Chariot Requiem's real power isn't just body swapping. It can cause all kinds of creepy otherworldly creatures to grow inside people's bodies. Meanwhile, Diavolo, still hiding nearby, has quietly figured out how to beat Chariot Requiem, and he's just waiting for the right moment. Then, out of nowhere, Giorno tells everyone to freeze. He's looked closely at Mista's broken revolver and confirms it was sabotaged, and the only explanation is that Diavolo's soul must be hiding inside one of them. Giorno hatches a plan. He'll use gold experience to sense how many souls are inside each person. As a precaution, he uses Polnareff's trick of dripping blood to detect any time skipping. As he checks Bruno, time suddenly skips, and King Crimson appears out of nowhere, cutting off Gold Experience's hand before Giorno can react. Trish jumps in to protect Giorno with Spicy Lady, but Diavolo reveals his twist. He's been hiding in Trish's soul inside Mista's body this whole time. After Trish activates her stand, Diavolo takes control of Mista's body. Without wasting time, Diavolo makes a run for Chariot Requiem. The whole team chases after him, but Diavolo gets to Requiem first. He circles around it and realizes something's odd. Now, okay, what happens next seems a little confusing, but here's the deal with Chariot Requiem. It's not just walking around like a zombie stand for no reason. It actually represents everyone's shadow. And guess what? If you try to hurt it, you're basically throwing hands with your own shadow. That's why when people get close, their stands suddenly turn against them, because in a way, they are attacking themselves. Now ask yourself, why do shadows even exist? Because something is casting light. Diavolo figures this out when he notices that Requiem's shadow is always on the opposite side, always facing the other direction, no matter where he stood. That makes him realize, if the shadow's always shifting positions, then the light casting it must be moving too, somewhere behind his soul. So yeah, Chariot Requiem is powered by the light behind your soul. Once Diavolo's soul, King Crimson, destroys that light by punching itself in the back of the head, Chariot Requiem is shut down, and Diavolo grabs the arrow. Wow! But Team Bruno isn't done yet. Giorno turns his blood that's smeared on King Crimson's hand into a swarm of ants that chew and knock the arrowhead loose. Mista fires all his bullets to keep Diavolo busy, and 6 bullets ride them toward the arrow, but a dead body falls right in the way and redirects it towards Diavolo's feet. When it looks like Diavolo's finally won, a bullet suddenly pops out of King Crimson's hand and knocks the arrowhead toward our team. Turns out Spicy Lady had secretly softened the bullets earlier stuck in King Crimson's hand, and now she made them snap back into shape to launch the arrow away from him. Epic move! But Diavolo is furious. He punches Spicy Lady pretty hard, wounding Trish badly and sending Mista's body flying toward the arrow. Bruno watches in horror as Trish's soul starts to fade, realizing they may have just lost another teammate. The next episode is titled King of Kings, and things go from bad to worse. Not only is Trish's soul seriously injured, but King Crimson has just flung himself straight at the arrow, about to claim ultimate victory. He stabs his hand with the arrow, ready to ascend to godhood, except nothing happens. The arrow just phases through his hand like it's a ghost. Now confused, King Crimson lands back on the ground and finally notices something. Chariot Requiem is actually starting to disappear, and everyone's souls are shifting back to their real bodies. Standing in front of him is none other than Bruno, his soul now free, throwing some final shade on his way to heaven. Bruno explains that he figured out Requiem's weakness, that little glowing orb behind Sticky Fingers.
Its crux appears to be this luminescent sphere floating behind each of our souls. One need only crush it.
King Crimson didn't completely destroy it while desperately chasing after the arrow, and now Bruno smashes the orb into smithereens, destroying Chariot Requiem and undoing its power. The gang's bodies and souls finally match again. Trish is safe and Diavolo is big mad. Bruno turns to Giorno for a final goodbye. He tells Giorno he had been dying this whole time, and it was Giorno who gave him the strength to keep going. With a smile, Bruno says he's proud and passes the torch, then peacefully ascends to the afterlife. What a Chad, man. Giorno picks up the arrow, and now it's his turn to finish this off once and for all. Gold Experience takes the arrow and stabs itself, but nothing happens at first. It looks like a dud, all that hype for nothing. Diavolo gets cocky and sends King Crimson in for the kill, but just as he's about to land the final punch, the arrow begins merging with Gold Experience and causes a new transformation. King Crimson's punch only ends up hitting an empty husk. Giorno floats into view, reborn with a brand new stand, Gold Experience Requiem. What a sight! Diavolo is speechless. I mean, I'd be bricks too if I were in his position. However, in his future vision, he sees himself killing Giorno. Confident once again, Diavolo erases time, dodges bullets from Mista, blinds Giorno with some blood, and prepares for a final strike. But something's wrong. Everything starts playing in reverse. The blood goes back into his hand. The bullets return to Mista's gun. Even time erasure is undone. Diavolo is understandably horrified. Gold Experience Requiem calmly explains, "Oh yeah, Giorno's stand can talk now, even without Giorno himself listening." Requiem explains, "Yeah, you can see the future, but you will never reach it." Basically, Giorno's Requiem can just cancel the future like it was never going to happen. Diavolo is now stuck in a time loop, trapped right where he started, unable to change anything.
What is this? What the hell is happening to me?
And Giorno, he's just standing there, ready to let Requiem give Diavolo the beatdown of his life. And the barrage of punches couldn't come to a more deserving person. Diavolo's reign is finally crumbling, one punch at a time. Episode 38 is called Gold Experience Requiem. After getting absolutely wrecked by Giorno's Requiem, Diavolo and King Crimson are launched into the river like trash on laundry day. Mista and Trish are amazed that Giorno actually pulled off the win, but Trish quickly notices something strange. Diavolo's body is missing from the river. Turns out, the boss somehow crawled out of the river and into a sewer, clinging to life like a stubborn cockroach. But fate had other plans. He runs into some homeless men who are completely out of it after taking drugs. One of them, thinking Diavolo is after his coat, stabs him in the chest. Diavolo blacks out and wakes up in a brightly lit room looking confused. Now he's watching a doctor named Monica Ultello perform an autopsy on him. He's literally watching his own organs get pulled out, feeling every laceration and yet unable to scream or move. Just when things couldn't get worse for him, he blacks out again and wakes up on the street. He starts contemplating what the hell Gold Experience Requiem did to him. Suddenly, a dog starts barking behind him, and while trying to back away, he gets hit by a car. Yikes! Back in Rome, Trish senses her father is still alive somehow. Giorno calmly explains that while he doesn't fully understand Gold Experience Requiem's powers, he knows one thing. Diavolo is now stuck in a never-ending loop of death. His death will forever remain a mystery to Diavolo himself, just pure, unadulterated suffering. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the judgment of Giorno's Requiem. Diavolo's final scene shows him in the countryside, traumatized, yelling at a harmless-looking girl to stay away before he probably dies again. Mista suddenly remembers, wait, what about Bruno? Thinking he's alive, the team races back to the Colosseum to help him. Giorno pauses, heart heavy, only to look up and see visions of Bruno, Abbacchio, and Narancia smiling down at him from the clouds. Damn, I'll miss these guys. But let's rewind a bit to an earlier flashback. Mista is rambling on about how herbivores must taste better than carnivores, and therefore humans probably taste awful. Then Bruno walks in with serious news. Leaky Eye Luca is dead, and their shady superior Polpo wants Bruno to investigate. Fugo introduces a florist who has a sad story to tell. His daughter jumped off a building while holding a weird round stone after visiting her boyfriend Scolipi, a sculptor. The florist wants revenge and offers all of his savings. Bruno refuses to be a hitman for hire but agrees to at least look into it. He sends Mista to pay Scolipi a visit, but when Mista stands up to leave, he finds a weird round stone on his seat, and when he touches it, he hears a spooky voice begging to be killed. Everyone else sees a regular rock and brushes it off. Still creeped out, Mista keeps seeing that stone everywhere. He tells Fugo and Bruno, but they just think he's being dramatic. They drop him off, but Bruno follows secretly, just to be on the safe side. At Scolipi's apartment, Mista finds the stone in the elevator again. He freaks out and shoots it, and as it crumbles, it reveals the image of a bleeding Bruno inside. And there's Scolipi, hiding in the corner. That's when Mista realizes, yeah, this is definitely a Stan's doing. The last episode of Part 5 is called The Sleeping Slaves. After seeing the creepy stone statue of Bruno dying, Mista goes berserk and starts assaulting Scolipi. After beating him up, he starts grilling the guy. Scolipi, dazed and not exactly a fighter, explains that he's just a sculptor with a weird stand called Rolling Stones. It acts on its own and has been stalking Bruno. According to him, the stone reveals when someone is fated to die, and once it takes that form, there's no escaping it. Mista's not buying it. He even tries to play Russian roulette to scare the truth out of Scolipi, but Scolipi keeps saying he can't stop the stone. He claims his girlfriend's death happened the same way. Rolling Stones appeared, she touched it, and the rest is history. Mista tries to shoot him, but the gun jams. Scolipi lives because, well, he's not fated to die today. Mista calls Fugo to warn Bruno, but it's already too late. Bruno's inside the building and right in Rolling Stone's path. Desperate, Mista shoots some of his 6 bullets up the elevator shaft to delay the stone and rushes to explain everything to Bruno. Rolling Stones sinks into the stairs and then jumps out from a wall like a ghost trying to tag Bruno. Thinking fast, Bruno zips through the wall using sticky fingers, but the stone chases him. In a wild, almost suicidal move, Mista grabs the stone and dives off the building with it like a stuntman. He crashes into a moving car and smashes the stone into pieces, because according to fate, Mista himself wasn't supposed to die that day. Funny enough, the car he lands on is Fugo's. He came back to hand over a tape recorder Mista forgot. shot. Classic timing. Mista thinks everything's cool now. The stone's gone and Bruno can carry on with the Leaky Eye Luca case. But Scolippi watches from a distance and realizes something chilling. The destroyed stone's rubble now resembles Bruno, Abbacchio, and Narancia too. Turns out Mista didn't change fate, he just delayed it. Still, Scolippi is touched by Mista's courage and hopes that all this sacrifice will lead to something meaningful. Flash forward to the present. Giorno's staring at the arrow like it's calling to him, and Mista scolds him for zoning out. Suddenly, Trish trips over a round, Rolling Stones-looking rock and disappears. Oh no! But it's a false alarm. Coco Jumbo the turtle has finally caught up and accidentally sucked her into his little room. Oh, and Polnareff's ghost is still hanging out inside too, attached to the little turtle's stand dimension. Mista reminds everyone that they need to go get Bruno in the Colosseum, but as Polnareff is about to break the news, Giorno gives him a look like, shh. Not now, and they all move on. As they walk toward the Colosseum, Giorno tells Polnareff he's not going to destroy the arrow. He believes they need to carry on the will of those they lost. Polnareff agrees and tells him to store the arrow safely inside Coco Jumbo. And with that, JoJo's bizarre adventure Golden Wind ends in style. Mista opens the window of a grand room where a bunch of mafia members are waiting. One by one, they step up to kiss Giorno's hand. He's now the new boss of Passione. The gang's incredible journey is over. Giorno has received his golden dream by taking the throne. Long live the new king. And that was our recap of JoJo's Part 5. This part kinda deviates from the narrative style of earlier parts, focusing more on how characters interact and develop bonds in a criminal gang setting. And dear lord, talk about character development. I mean, sometimes I forget that Bruno Bucciarati isn't the main character, but let me know what you think in the comments section. Overall, it was an emotionally satisfying experience. But wait, there's more. In part 6, we'll be switching from Dio Brando's son to Jotaro Kujo's daughter. God damn, we're nearing the end. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time in the city of Port St. Lucie.